Good evening or afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Education for today, March 22nd. This meeting is now called to order. We will now have a roll call by Mrs. Smith.
Dr. Blau.
Here.
Mr. Rich.
Here.
Ms. Heinrich.
Here.
Ms. Fox.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
I myself here. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a student? Is there a Megan here, please? McKinley, would you come on in up, please, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You can come on up to the podium, and as soon as you start, we will follow. Just say it. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for leading us. We appreciate it. We will now move to items from the president. Good job, Megan. All right, so welcome again to the March 22nd Farmington Board of Education regular meeting. Oh, did I skip the agenda? Mm-hmm. Thank you. May we get the agenda approved, please? Mr. Rich.
I move that the Board of Education approve the March 22nd, 2022 regular meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion made to approve the agenda made by Mr. Rich, supported by Mrs. Smith. I was very excited. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you very much. Now we will move to announcements. Welcome again for the third time to the March 22nd Farmington Board of Education regular meeting. The next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on April 5th, 2022 at 6 p.m. The meeting is open to the public and will be cablecast live on TV10. Farmington Public Schools has a vision for high achievement for all of its students. Together with our community, we will engage every student in a quality learning experience, empowering each student to become a thoughtful, contributing citizen in a changing world. Please remember to silence all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. In addition, out of courtesy to those in the audience, we ask that you refrain from sidebar conversations, and we ask that you step out into the hallway if you feel the need to carry on such a conversation, and we thank you for your cooperation. Effective February 28th, masks are recommended but not required. We encourage attendees to do what is comfortable for them. Public comment request cards are available in the back of the room. If you would like to speak during public comment, please fill out a card and place it in the ceramic bowl at the end of this table next to Mrs. Sterin. Public comments will be shared after discussion items. This will be the opportunity to share general comments. If the public comment is intended to be critical of or express dissatisfaction with a particular staff member, student, or group, you are encouraged not to identify the person by name. You may request a private meeting with district representatives or utilize the complaint process found in our policy manual. Generally, board members and the superintendent do not respond to public comments during the board meeting. Issues may be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, and/or response. We will now move to board goals. At each meeting, we review our board goals and our progress. Our first board goal is with respect to board education. Again, our biggest accomplishment this year is the certification of the entire board. We are in the process of scheduling additional training and development opportunities, and we'll also look at developing a new member onboarding process before the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th. Our next board goal was to explore innovation. We have succeeded and completed this goal, but we'll continue to explore innovations and have devoted time to our agenda every other meeting to this topic. Board Goal 3 was to execute on our vision and strategy. We have completed this goal as well, but we will continue to participate in strategic planning committee meetings. And then with respect to board goal number 4, which is on community engagement, Our goal has actually already been exceeded, and we've completed it and exceeded it. The Communications Committee has developed a plan for us, and each board member committed to attending at least 4 meetings this year, not meetings, I'm sorry, 4 community involvement opportunities, including school performances or community meetings, state of the city addresses, those types of things. And I'm very happy to report that we have exceeded that goal. Every member has attended at least 4. On average, it's been 13, and I want to congratulate Mrs. Smith for being number 26 on the list this year in attending 26. The year's not over yet. We've got lots to go. And I didn't count the multiple times she's attended the one event on Super Saturdays. So thank you to Ms. Smith. That leads us now into items from the Secretary. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. And it's not that I don't have a life. I just enjoy the students of this district, so. The board has received communications regarding mask, FOIA lawsuit, PTA Council Founders Day, and thank you emails. Communications are acknowledged, and when appropriate, a response is provided. A list of correspondence can be found in the board packet, which is available on the Farmington Public School website.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We will now move to recognitions. We enjoy this part of the agenda. Dr. Delgado.
Thank you, President Weems. And I'm looking in the audience. I don't see a 5th grader, but if Jennah Peratsakis is here, if you can come to the podium. If not, we're still going to do the recognition. We heard that last minute she may not be able to join us. But let me tell you about Jennah. So Jennah Peratsakis is a 5th grade student at Forest Elementary School who worked to raise funds over the summer to help needy children in Gaza. The CEO from the nonprofit Rama Worldwide visited Forest Elementary in February to surprise and celebrate Jennah for raising money by selling her own toys and putting on a talent show. The kids from Gaza gifted Jennah with their artwork and their drawings. And so we have an inspiring thank you video from the children that they compiled with their teacher entitled Jennah's Gift to Gaza. So we want to thank Jennah and we want to show you this short video.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. كيفك يا جنى؟ أنا اليوم في غزة. هذا الظرف اللي أعطيتيني إياه في مسجد الMCM في ميشيغان بعد صلاة الجمعة. السلام عليكم. في بنت في أمريكا اسمها جنة أو جنى، اجت لعندي مني بعد خطبة الجمعة وقالت لي أنا عندي ألعاب بعتهم في أمريكا وجمعت الفلوس تبعهم وبدي إياك تاخذهم وتعطيهم للأطفال بغزة. Thank you, Jennah. We distribute your donation and the child, all the kids, thank you.
السلام عليكم. كيف حالك؟ تمام إن شاء الله. كيف حالك يا عمو؟ إيش أخبارك؟ تمام إن شاء الله. هذه هدية مقدمة من جنى، هذه لحضرتكم.
شكرا إلى وبارك الله فيك. إن شاء الله يكون من ميزانات حسناتها، إن شاء الله يكون مستقبلها مستقبل باهر إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله يا رب.
الحين ندي المصاري لماما عشان تشتري لهم.
So we will make sure that Jennah knows that we shared that video and say thank you and shukra. So, next up, I would like to recognize from North Farmington High School our Student Senate. So if there are any Student Senate folks in the room, if you'd like to come to the podium, that would be wonderful. Hello, everybody. You can head right over to the podium. I'm sure we'll have some questions for you. But this wonderful group of young people, we'd like to recognize the North Farmington High School Student Senate leaders. Yash Mehta, Nikhil Seth, Nikhil Desai, Alyssa Peak, Jennah Shah, Megan McKinney, Katie Rose, and Needy Mistry. The students planned and executed the statewide MASC/MAHS Student State Leadership Conference on February 26th through 28th. Each year, one school is designated the host and is responsible for planning and executing the entire conference, and this year that was North's role. We want to congratulate you on your outstanding work to make the conference a tremendous success. We know there were over 1,000 students, I believe, across the state of Michigan, so we want to not only congratulate you, recognize you, and I'm sure we have some questions for you. So let's give them some congratulations. So please, if you could tell us a little bit about what the conference entailed and what your role in organizing was.
Yeah, so basically the people you see out here and basically plan. You guys don't know MAS or organization that trains methods.
That's wonderful.
I'm sure we'd love to hear from your teachers as well.
So this is my ninth year involved with MAS, and I got to see Yash and Nikhil and Melissa as freshmen. It was wonderful when Yash came. What do you think about hosting? Luckily, Ms. Sharpland joined me as a co-advisor this year because I couldn't be out there, but they deserve all the credit, all these students. It's Grand Rapids, most any ever brought. I actually got to conference, so not only did they use it, but really proud of them.
It was my very first year as student. Over the course of this, 55,000. I can't imagine, and I was just being a runner, what you guys, everything, preparation, like to organizing it, Farmington, speakers, it was them. Marcy and I were support, but it was them. So they really are the super.
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So, does anybody know how long it's been since North Farmington has hosted? Was this like the first time ever? Wow, that's fantastic.
So I can talk about kind of how the host school works.
Yeah.
So they pick a different school every year. So North Farmington has never hosted before in the past. It's originally actually bigger schools go to high school in Power.
That's wonderful. And so is this like a day or is it a week? How long? 3 days. And-
a weekend-long conference.
And when you mean us, you mean everyone here? It was 5 days for you, 3 days for everybody else?
50 other students.
Wow. So are you excused from class for all that time?
It was on break. We were on break. Yeah, we were
Oh,
on break.
wow, you did it during a break.
Better.
Wow.
We were very tired.
Zombies, actually.
Well, congratulations, and thank you guys for taking the time over your break to do something so awesome.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
I have a question. Yeah. What would you say are some of the highlights of your experience? Was it in the planning? Was it attending with the event itself? Or something you learned?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a mix of different items that we need to accomplish in order to actually block for success. Number one, there's structured activities that we need to do in the conference. There's also decorations we need to do. Alyssa was in that. I was in charge of the opening ceremony groups and making videos up. This skit. We also planned keynote speakers. We picked that we think would really resonate with the audience. Pick a theme. All of these sort of things was a culmination. All of us, not only us here, but also the students in Student Senate, North Farmington School advisors, that we all had to work together in order to. But as for a highlight, I would definitely say some of the keynote speakers interacting with different members from all over the state. There's like all these student leaders from Sheboygan, which is like way up there. And so we were able to interact with all these leaders, get all these ideas from them, and ultimately bring them back to our school. And now we have this sort of, for Farmington, this sort of like main school for the Michigan Association. I also able to do this, we were able to sort of work Farmington in that direction. And, more students involved in that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mrs. Smith.
I just want to say congratulations and thank you, and you represent Farmington well. You all are an amazing group of young people, and a lot of you sit on that Student Roundtable. So I know you went and you represented us very well, and I'm pretty sure you are and will continue to be the leaders of this district, and I appreciate everything that you all have done, especially giving up your break to do something for us as a district. So thank you to your parents for sharing you with us when you could have said, I don't want to do this, I want to do something over break. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I wanted to add something on behalf of the administration of North Farmington High School. As we go through all of our activity sheets, club sheets, they host and they are a part of several different organizations. So just like they put together these wonderful events around the state, summers at the leadership camps as well, that same sort of programming. So proud of. We're so proud of Marshik as well as Mrs. Sharpland.
And who might you be, ma'am?
My name is Tanya Corbett, and I am one of the assistant principals.
That's right.
Like Nikhil mentioned, I was head of the decoration committee.
On Nikhil's side, and I was one of the co-heads of social media.
I'm media history and I was the other.
Very.
My name is Rosanna. My name is
My name is Nikhil, and I was.
Excellent.
I was along with Jennah, one of the.
Another question from Mrs. Heinrich.
You're not supposed to assume anything, but I mean, something of this magnitude, was there a guide that you followed and as a follow-up? I mean, did you learn anything that you're going to pass on for improvements to make the next host school's job a little bit easier? That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So I hear that there's some learnings coming out of that, some recommendations coming out of that. I'd love to hear from the students what were sort of top of mind coming out of the conference that you want to move forward with. And I'd love to hear from administration what we need, maybe from the board or from the district, to help move those things forward.
They really work on the day-to-day. These young people walk in the building with me at 7 o'clock, and they're going to their meeting as I'm going to my office. And sometimes I'm conferencing with them to get dates together when they're giving events around school. Colleagues here can give more details.
So I would say some of the learning around the state, across all leaders, mental health support, that was echoed throughout the conference. Did a great job of being, that even as also our young learners, did an amazing job mentoring sophomores, so that, and then just providing them opportunities, mental health awareness.
And I would echo that. We had 2 speakers, several in the even within the conference. So on top of the planning, we also had both Yash and both. Also did one of the presentations. So much of it was around mental health, processing our versus to be able to continue to take many decisions.
You know, it was great to see freshmen for the first time, probably the first time away from families, just blossom in front of you. Oh, thank you. So just, I mean, you just watch them like all of a sudden, here they were with like-minded kids, and it had been 2 years. And so it was a wonderful experience.
That's great to hear.
And I would just add one other thing. Also, like inclusion and diversity came up a lot because we are lucky to be a very diverse school. And so having other schools see what we do, how we've updated some events that may be, vintage, I would say, and how our school has updated some of those events, paves the way for other schools to do that as well.
That's great. That's great feedback. Absolutely. Please.
Yeah, so all of this really happened because after freshman year, Marshik pushed me to go to one of the events, which was the summer leadership camp. That's what started everything, at least from my side, and I can probably say for the other people here as well. And so, I would not have gone if it was not completely covered by Senate, and also my mom said, "Oh, you should go." So yeah.
Is mom here? Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks to both my parents.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mom.
So yeah, if that is one thing to consider, I think. If there's anywhere that you got some extra money that you want to deal somewhere, this would be a good place to do it.
That's good to know. It yields this kind of stuff. That's great. Thank you. We'll pause one more minute for some parent photo opportunity.
I told you not to do
Either do that or stand in front.
I think it would be better if you just stood right here.
Right.
I mean, this is go. Go up there. Go.
Come up here.
The kids say they want you to fund the parents going with them.
All right, see you, thank you.
Only if board members get to go to.
Yeah, great work, thank you.
This is a great group. It's good.
All right.
It is nice to celebrate. All right, back to our boring meeting. You guys are going to stay for the rest of it, right? No. Dr. Delgado, I think we are ready to move on to report from Student Roundtable President. Do we have, yes, Alyssa Peak is here. Thank you, you're up next. Thank you all for joining us for that. We really, really love to celebrate and recognize really good work across the district. So that's the highlight of our meeting for sure.
President Weems, maybe these two need seats up here since they keep coming.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Great.
So recently we had our March meeting, and there we were able to discuss two of the big events that we have. And one would be something related to mental health, and the other would be uniting the district and the high schools within the district. So that was very successful. We were able to discuss that along with other topics that are going on. We were able to get some student voice from all of the students there, and the superintendent was able to take notes and even produce. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we were able to do, or you were able to do with some of the funds?
Yeah, so this is another reason why I came up to the podium. Hi everyone, my name is Nikhil. I'm in Student Roundtable as well. So what we are actually able to do from North Farmington, some of us created a proposal to send.
He created it alone.
So we sent it to the FPS board, and essentially stating that because the last 2 years we weren't able to raise money for prom, although we did fundraise the best we could, all of us at North Farmington, we've worked very hard in order to make that happen, but we requested some sort of grant or some funds that ultimately the Farmington Public Schools Board could give us and Farmington High School and Central High School as well in order to lower the tickets of prom. We know that in this time, job markets are shifting, money's very unstable, and so we requested some sort of grant. And so ultimately, after proposals and emails back, we were ultimately able to pass that board. So I want to thank the FPS board a lot in order to make that happen. I know me, Yash, and Alyssa, we all appreciate that very much, especially from the seniors here. So thank you so much.
So I want to just pause and thank you, Nikhil, and Alyssa, and the entire Student Senate. I know that it was your recommendation. You came to the board meeting, you expressed yourself. I do want to recognize that this board had very little to do with that. We did listen, and we asked the administration to look into it. Dr. Delgado took it back to cabinet, and thank you to the business office who, combed through and decided, yep, this is maybe something that could be supported. I want to thank Dr. Delgado for that. I think it's great that you guys had a plan, and he actually mentioned it to us in his board brief, how professional you guys were and how you just ran it down, and that's the way things are supposed to go. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Again, it just goes to show that that if you bring up something to the Farmington Public Schools Board, there's this opportunity for discussion and ultimately can lead to some successful things. So again, thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. Don't ask for anything else, though.
Yeah, that brings me to a piece of we've been having meaningful discussions within Student Roundtable, and because of that, we are seeing outcomes, and that is amazing that we were able to do that. And again, thank you so much.
You guys are great, seriously.
Keep asking. Keep asking.
Keep asking. Yes, keep asking.
I am so proud of all of you. But you two both of you are awesome. I mean, you have no problem with coming and asking us for anything. And that's what we're here for. But I appreciate the fact, although Alyssa kind of threw you under the bus, I was standing there when you came and asked Dr. Delgado. And, at the end of the day, we have a superintendent that said, it doesn't hurt to ask. And what he did was he followed through, and you got what you wanted. You all deserve this. This pandemic had nothing to do with any of you, and you should not be suffering and penalized because of what happened in the economy and throughout this country. So you are well deserving of what's going on with the funding that Dr. Delgado and his cabinet provided. But please go back and tell the junior class they must start fundraising effectively. So thank you.
You guys hear that?
Ms. Corbett, again, I hate to keep jumping up on this mic, but I am so proud of this group of folks, young folks. I remember when they were freshmen and they were making their speeches, running for president of their class, and it was funny to watch the two of you, you know, and they're both in leadership roles, and as you can see, they kind of co-chair, co-president these organizations. They've had, I just think about the foundation they've received from Farmington Public Schools, because they were these same people in elementary and had the support of our elementary staff and administration and middle school as well. So again, Nikhil wanted a zero balance for their prom. They wanted a free prom. That was his goal as a freshman and a part of his speech. And some of these proms, if you guys don't know, they're like a Kardashian wedding. They're just like very elaborate in some of the places. If you want something all-inclusive in one spot. And so they kind of they've been selling Bahama Breeze smoothies in the morning to make money, you know, and I'm sure that the same efforts are going on at Farmington High School to raise money for their proms. And so just that they were able to get this with their proposal with the same sort of drive that I saw their freshman year, even though they had the setback when we were virtual and they weren't able to raise the funds. So again, voices, you know, like that, because I am very proud of them. Thank you.
Just before you leave, thank you again for coming and presenting. Seeing this kind of leadership in our students is very inspiring, and you never know where you'll end up when you have this kind of support from Ms. Corbett early on in your education. You just never know where you might end up.
That's fantastic. Seriously, we really love and appreciate hearing from students when things are going well, when things are not going so well, when you need some help, some support, when you have recommendations. I appreciate the Student Senate for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, guys. Anything further? All right, I think you guys are off the hook.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I think we have had our recognitions and our reports from Student Roundtable. At this time, this is normally the time when folks transition. It's okay. You are allowed to transition. If you're not interested in the rest of this riveting agenda. All right, we're now going to move to legislative updates. Dr. Blau?
Yes. I apologize for my absence from our last meeting. I was in Washington, D.C. representing our school district. We met every half hour with a different legislator from our fine state. There were 5 counties in Southeast Michigan that went as part of the K-12 Alliance. We were in Washington, D.C. to impress upon our legislators the need for full funding of the IDEA mandate. We had passed a resolution. There were a total of 56 different school districts throughout the state who passed resolutions. So each legislator who came to speak with us left with a big, thick binder full of all of these resolutions in favor of the full funding. Just as a refresher for those who are watching, IDEA is the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. It was passed in 1975 by our federal government, and at that time, the federal government promised to pay about 40% of the cost that it would be to make sure that all of our students, whether they have physical challenges or cognitive academic challenges, would receive a fair and equal and high-quality educational experience in our publicly funded schools. Unfortunately, in the 47 years since that legislation was mandated, the federal government has not come forward with its share of the funding. And currently, we're receiving about 14%. And I think the highest percentage we've ever received was 18. After 47 years, especially now, when we've come out of 2 years of COVID-impacted learning, we were in Washington, D.C. to impress upon our legislators that if there was ever a time where this was especially important, it's now, where we have a large number of students who were impacted by the need to have virtual schools, the social and emotional stresses of all that's happened these past few years, and still. Now is an exceptionally appropriate time, because we've been asked, why now after 47 years? Well, COVID happened. And so we have all of our students who currently have individualized education plans and 504s, and we have a whole bunch of additional students now who need extra academic support or social and emotional support, who might not qualify for an IEP or a 504, and yet the needs are there. So now none of the legislators put forward this argument, but there are some people in government and in society who might say, well, all of our students, we need funding for all of our students, not just our students with special challenges. Yes, that is true. However, because of this unfunded federal mandate, all these 47 years, we legally must provide these services to our students who are in need, which means that those monies have to come out of our general education budget because we must provide those services. If we're able to get the 40% from the federal government, that's all of those dollars that would go back into our general education fund. And just imagine what we could do with those dollars. Over the past 11 years, in order to meet the needs of our students in the absence of the full funding from the federal government, it has cost our district $120 million to provide all of the extra services. We could do a lot with that for all of our students. So we really are eager to get this to happen. It will probably take some kind of national movement to push this. So stay tuned. I'll be back for updates.
Thank you, Dr. Blau. Any thoughts, questions?
I just want to know, is there any likelihood that, from your visit with the various legislatures, what are your thoughts in terms, you said it sounds like it's not going to happen. So what are your thoughts? What are the legislators talking about in terms of ID?
So the legislators are all extremely supportive. When we met with them, they're extremely supportive of full funding. They see the value, investing in our young people as paramount. The a legislator who is in charge of deciding if we get a hearing on this particular legislation. What they did was they were able to arrange a meeting with him. And so that's another step forward. So our legislators were able to arrange for us to meet with that particular individual. I can't remember his name at the moment. So they are helping us to move in that direction. But they feel that it's going to take more than just a group from Southeast Michigan pushing for this, that it's going to take a larger number of voices. So we're currently working to connect with others throughout the country to see what we can do together.
Thank you for that report. Thank you. All right, we will now move to district updates. Dr. Delgado, you have a district update?
I do. Thank you, President Weems. So a couple of updates from me. So first of all, I want to say congratulations to all of our young adult performers at the Visions Unlimited Annual Talent Show. I had the pleasure of about 2.5 hours of just pure joy and happiness, excitement, and wonderful entertainment. I was there with Ms. Fox and Ms. Smith, who joined me as well. I just want to congratulate all the students and the staff. This was the first time in a couple of years that they were able to get back on stage, and there were standing room only in the theater. So I really was excited to attend that for the first time. Also, we have wonderful news from our DECA students in the state competition. So DECA, if you don't know, stands for the Distributive Education Clubs of America. DECA are traditionally your marketing and business student clubs. So we had our students compete in a recent competition, and we had 28 Farmington Falcons who competed at the state competition last weekend. The Falcons earned a total of 14 medals. 15 are state finalists, and 8 of our students have earned the right to compete at DECA's International Career Competition in Atlanta, Georgia on April 22nd. Wow. So let's give them and a big shout out to their teacher, Nina Murget, who really helped lead them in their efforts. And so many of our young people just make us so proud, and it's just nice to be able to highlight them. Also, from the world of the Hackbots, they are in the news again. So our Hackbots had a competition last weekend in Livonia. So your high school first robotics team, the Hackbots, closed out the regular season this past weekend with another impressive performance at the Livonia district event. They finished qualifying matches with 11 wins and 1 loss and made it to the finals in the playoffs, losing in a very close match. They were recognized by the judging panel for their gracious and professional manner, which I've seen firsthand when I was with them at Cass Tech. And we are currently ranked 4th in the state of Michigan. So this has been our most successful regular season in the team's history based on total competition points. So with those points, we have enough that we've qualified for the state championship at Saginaw Valley State University on April 14th to 16th. And very shortly after that, we may be eligible to go to the World Championships, which is in Houston, Texas. They'll have to be there by April 20th. So congratulations again to the Hackbots. And if you followed me on Twitter, you see that I sent a tweet about another hit from ROPA. I think it's one of the best acronyms, the Raiders of the Performing Arts. So ROPA, standing ovation for ROPA, who did a wonderful musical, The Wizard of Oz. Just a fantastic show with so many students from the cast and the crew to lighting and technicians and stagehands, and of course all the actors and the pit crew and their wonderful leadership by their teachers and their support. So it just was wonderful to see them back on stage and the joy that was in their faces to be able to perform for a live audience. And just the week before, East's theater crew also performed Willy Wonka Jr. with a very special guest performance from Principal Ken Sanders, who was acting and singing. And so it's just really a wonderful community that we have here, a fantastic school community, people having fun together, celebrating together, hundreds and hundreds of students who were able to participate in so many different activities. So I wanted to give a special recognition to them. And two more items for me. Last, just a quick shout out to the North Farmington boys basketball team. They are district champions, and they lost a very, very close. Yes, let's go. Lost a very, very close game to a real powerhouse in St. Mary's in the regionals, but they had a fantastic, fantastic season. So we're happy to support those young men as well. So, and last but not least, I wanted to bring up in my update conversation about clubs and extracurriculars. So at one of my previous superintendent coffees, as well as at the last board meeting, we had some conversation about clubs and the expenditures for clubs. And so with the help of my cabinet, I'd like to present just a little bit for our board and for our public to help have a little bit of understanding of the history of clubs in our district, as well as extracurriculars and some of the opportunities that we have. Speaking of the hundreds of kids students who are involved in all of these activities, I want to make sure that we distinguish a couple things. So in our school district, in most school districts, you have a separate kind of appendix to your teacher contract. Ours is called the B1 contract. What you see on the screen is just an example of close to 30 clubs that are available at Farmington High School. They're duplicated at North Farmington and have a little bit of differences. Every single one of these opportunities is for young people, and they are guaranteed in the teacher contract based on a ratio that if there are enough students that have interest and there's a teacher who's willing to sponsor it, there's an allocated stipend that is taken out of the general fund. And those range anywhere from, at the low end, about $500 to about $7,000 for a teacher who's willing to give his or her time. You can see the diversity within those clubs, everything from kind of linguistic-based clubs to diversity, equity, inclusion clubs to academic clubs and entrepreneurial clubs. So there are a lot of opportunities for our young people to work with teachers in our schools. On occasion, we have outside clubs, and outside clubs are activities. Some of them are clubs, some of them are extracurricular activities, but they are also affiliated with the school district. But I want to kind of pause for a second and just talk about the idea of something I mentioned at the last board meeting, which is about a limited open forum. So that's kind of the legal term that when you have a public school organization, by law, it must be inclusive. So you cannot exclude a student from a club. And so even if you have a diversity-based club or an identified group for a club, whether it's along religious or ethnic lines, the intent is education and partnership and learning from each other. And so we really invite people from all faiths, from all cultures to join those clubs as a rule to help educate and help us learn to live harmoniously together. And so we're very proud of many of the clubs that we have. In terms of the funding, there's a slight difference between what we call our B1, our teacher-based clubs, and then any of the extracurricular endeavors or curricular programs. And so I'll ask our Assistant Superintendent of Business, Mrs. Kaminsky, as well as Dr. Goodrum, our Assistant Superintendent of DEI, to just talk to you a little bit about the budget process and how we possibly fund some of the extracurricular activities that we have. So they're going to come to the podium.
Sorry,
we didn't talk before to get it straight.
We didn't get our choreography together, so we apologize for that.
There's a dance club that might help.
Exactly.
It's on the first
Yeah,
column.
I don't dance. All right, so just to talk a little bit about how these grants operate and the budget process and that. So, and this happens for all of our federal and state grants. There's a budget manager over that pool of money. And they work with staff or know the needs of the program that they're working on and kind of develop that budget. These COVID dollars or the ESSER dollars, there was a lot more work. A group of people working on them together throughout the year. input from various stakeholders, especially with these ESSER 3 funds. There were a lot more requirements. So that they call it a plan of use narrative needed to be submitted to the state along with a budget. The state reviews all of that and determines whether our plan is allowable under the requirements. And there's 15 different categories on how you can spend those dollars. So we submit that to the state. Again, they review it, and they're the ones giving approval. So as far as it goes, with the board, you'll see those funding sources come through in the second amendment. That's where your approval will be. It's not at that detail level. That is, the state's role in these COVID dollars. And so then just to kind of point out one of the sections within the ESSER 3, allowable costs and how we must spend these dollars. So by federal law, of the total amount allocated to the district from Michigan's ARP ESSER 3 award, the district must reserve at least 20% of its funds to address learning loss through the implementation of evidence-based interventions. In addition, the district must ensure those interventions respond to students' social, emotional, and academic needs and address the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on underrepresented student subgroups. So those are students from low-income families, students from each racial and ethnic group, English learners, children with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness, children in foster care, migratory students, and by gender.
And before we go on to the categoricals, I do want to emphasize again the stakeholder input that we're required to get. And so we met with student groups, we met with the administrators, we met with the teachers, we had a focus group of community members. So again, the things that ended up in our final budget proposal were not things that we made up. There were things that people asked us for. There were things that the community asked us for, that the students asked us for, that the principals asked us for. And we had to look, again, within the constraints of the ESSER requirements. And for instance, in our narrative, which I believe is available now or it will be available soon, you see that we have to talk about specific targeted groups that are named in our MDE memo. And so we had to speak specifically to how we are addressing the needs of specific targeted groups as indicated in the grant requirements.
Yes, I believe the narrative is available somewhere on MDE's website. I have not been able to find it. We had to submit our plan by February 15th, and then the state released every school district's plan on March 1st. So fairly soon in the next month or two, we definitely want to get something on the district's website to talk about how we've spent some of the COVID dollars, how we're planning on using future dollars. So once we have that, ready and available, then we'll probably present something here to the board so that you're aware of those specific costs as well. So just to talk a little bit about the categoricals, the high-level spending for the ESSER $3, and that's the $5.5 million allocation. So SEL, social emotional learning, we have 10 additional social workers to provide support at each elementary for 2 years, and that's about $1.3 million. So on academic intervention side, we're providing 1 math interventionist and 1 reading interventionist at each of our middle schools for a 2-year period. And we're providing an elementary intervention specialist to support all elementary building interventionists, and that's about $2 million. We have additional technology and software purchases, and that will be for purchasing licenses for various computer programs that help to increase student engagement and student-to-student interactions, as well as providing math and reading support, and that's for a 2-year period as well. And we'll also provide technology integration leads to help support that teaching and learning. So about $1.1 million for that category. Community and support services, providing staff to help develop resource banks for our in-need population through community partnerships. And again, that's for a 2-year period. Professional development, we're providing professional development and related materials to support a middle school learning model and intervention courses as well as curriculum development. That's about $500,000. And then under the category of underrepresented student subgroups, approximately $189,000, and that's for a 3-year period, so about $63,000 a year. Did you want to talk more?
So again, I want to speak specifically about those groups that we fell under the underrepresented groups. And so we have 2 programs that we actually, one of them has been in the district since I believe 2016 or 2015, which is Pretty Brown Girls, and Dream King, which is a newer program to our district that I think it started at Hillside maybe 2 years ago. And so Dream Kings is a program that we have now at every middle school and one of our elementary schools. And I don't know, I think some of you may have gotten the letter from a young man when he moved from Hillside to Power, because it was not slated to be at Power. But a young man, again, wrote, we have students who are very good advocates for themselves, so he wrote a proposal as he was coming into 6th grade to ask that Power pick up Dream Kings because he had such a positive experience with it at Hillside. So Dream Kings cost less than $5,000 per school. And so we have 4 schools, again, that participate in that. So that's $20,000 a year. And remember, we're funding for 3 years. And then Pretty Brown Girls, which again, we've had in our district for a number of years. And that costs a little bit more. That costs about $8,500 per school. And that is at, it's at 5 schools. I was trying to look for the number. I was like, because there are more schools, because that's also at North Farmington High School, Hillside, and all of our middle schools. So again, these are programs that students and families have requested, and some of, and that we've had, for some time, and they happen to fit within the criteria. And again, these are not clubs. These are commercial curriculum programs. So they come with a curriculum. They're not staffed by our staff. They're staffed by the company staff that, work for those organizations. And they're leadership programs. There are field trips associated with it. They meet on a regular basis and they do a number of activities. And again, these are multicultural clubs, but they're open to everyone. Everyone is encouraged and invited to attend. So that is just some of the information that we have just about those, because I know that there were some questions specific to that. So I just wanted to provide some clarity around that.
Thank you both for sharing the budget. So again, what we wanted to clarify for the board and for the public are the 2 different camps of clubs and extracurricular opportunities. So once again, we have teacher-sponsored clubs that you see on the screen that are guaranteed. If there's interest, there are stipends associated with that. And then there are some community endeavors that we participate in, that we support. Obviously, with the COVID funding, there were what we call categoricals or line items that were earmarked for specific purposes. And I just want to reiterate the numbers that you just heard from Mrs. Kaminsky. Social emotional learning, $1.3 million that we spent on that. Academic intervention, so math and reading interventionists at all of our elementary and middle schools, $2 million. Technology and software, that increases math support, literacy support, $1.1 million. Community and support services, resource banks, helping people for over 2 years, $400,000. Professional development for our teachers to learn how to implement these intervention programs, $500,000. And then underrepresented student groups, $189,000, or $63,000 a year. So not only is it permissible for us to have these clubs, but it fits with our mission and our vision for all of our students. So with that, I wanted to I'll close my comments and open it up if the board has some thoughts. I just wanted to bring up, I know that President Weems, you had mentioned before in last week's comments, your work with the business community and the increasing recognition of affinity groups in business, as well as things that are similarly in line with what school districts and other organizations are doing. So I'll turn it over to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Delgado. This is very much in line with what I would have expected. Thank you for coming and presenting this information. This is exactly what we asked for. We wanted to understand what clubs were available, what the equity and parity was across schools, and this makes sense to me from a budget perspective. Most specifically, it aligns with the stipends that you mentioned are offered to teachers across buildings. It seems on par with that. And really clearly, there seems to be a categorical or a set of criteria associated with at least 20% of the ESSER funding that we receive being targeted towards underrepresented groups. So appreciate that you brought this to us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rich?
And I think in a continuation of this, it not only shows that, one, it is us following the rules that are set forward with these funds for disbursement in the first place, but it also completely aligns with our district's vision, our mission, and our values, and showing where we are, actually putting our money where our mouth is. And it's not just sitting on these funds that were given to us. We are making sure that they're being used properly and in ways that can best benefit the children of our district.
Mrs. Smith?
Earlier today, I had someone say, I watched the board meetings, and do we ever get follow-ups? Well, this is what we do. We follow up. Sometimes you don't see it out all the time, but this stops a lot of assumptions from the community. I appreciate that once this was brought to our attention, that there was a follow-up from our superintendent, as well as with his cabinet as well. So I deeply appreciate the work that the two of you have put into this by letting the community know that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's. This is something that not only does the board recognizes, this will stop the rumblings and the rumors of conversations that we're not spending and doing the monies, and allocating them in the right way. I'm going to piggyback off of what Dr. Delgado says quite a bit. We are walking the walk and talking the talk. He has let us see that we are being very, very transparent on what we're doing and what we're doing with these clubs. I appreciate this list from Farmington. I also have the list from North Farmington. And these are some amazing, outstanding clubs that our students are taking part in. And like he said, they're not exclusive, they're inclusive. So if a child or a student wants to attend, they're not attending because they don't want to, but everyone is welcome. So thank you for all the work that you all have done, and to Dr. Delgado and his cabinet. Thank you.
I am particularly pleased that there are some earmarks associated with underrepresented groups, which, it's a relatively small dollar amount when you think about the fact that it could address up to 10 to 20% of our population. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you. If there's nothing further, I think we can move on. I think you may have some recognition.
I have some additional district updates. That's the end of my superintendent's district update, but I'm happy to invite to the microphone. I don't know if Mrs. Baumann, our wonderful Director of School Community Relations, is going to introduce our PTA Council, or if our PTA Council is just going to come on to the mic. Actually, if I could have you pause, I forgot. I think we have Jennah. Are you Jennah? so happy you could join us, Jennah. We showed the video, your wonderful, wonderful video that you received, and I read the information about just how giving you are and the fact that you raised your own fundraiser and sold your own toys for the children in Gaza. And so we would love to hear from you about your experience and where that idea came from, and maybe some of the interaction that you've had with the children. We saw the wonderful video, and I think they may have sent you letters. So can you talk to us about your project?
Yeah, so the way I got inspired is I went to a convention in Chicago, and it was an AMP convention, American Muslims for Palestine, and they this like scarf is from the convention, and they do a lot of work for freeing Palestine and making better living conditions for the people in Gaza and all across Palestine. And so it was really fun, and it was a great experience for me. And I loved being at the convention, so I started fundraising on my own, and I sold my toys, and I set up a talent show in my backyard, and I raised about $30 from that, and I fundraised at my local mosque and my place of worship. And I also wrote poems to speaking out against occupation, and so I did a lot of stuff, and it's really rewarding for me to get that video and see the letters from the kids in Gaza. It's showing that what I did made a difference.
Well, we are so proud of you. You make us so proud, and to be so young and so thoughtful and so caring for children in another part of the world and children who are in need. And so we're very, very proud of you. I imagine some of our board members may have questions for you.
We do. Mrs. Smith?
I don't have a question, but it's more of a comment. You sold all your toys? I mean, that's a lot for someone to do, and it's not selfish. It's a great act to do. But I want to say thank you for sharing your video. But you said you do talent shows. Is it okay that if your parents reach out to us, if you do another talent show, that we could come and see your talent show? Now, I ain't performing, but I will come, okay? So is that okay if we come to your talent show?
Yeah.
And support you?
Yeah.
And thank you for selling your toys and giving back to Palestine, because I love the scarf. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we're all really inspired by what you did. I'm really glad to see that. I'm glad that I think your parents are here.
Yeah.
I'm sure they support you as well, and should be very, very, very proud of you. Thank you. You're such a great reflection of Farmington Public Schools.
Thank you.
I will perform at your talent show. You can sing.
I would too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be that good, but I will try.
And donate. We'll do both.
We'll do both.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing that video with us.
Thank you.
And now we have our wonderful PTA. We have Beth Hewlett and Jen Garland to give us a PTA Council update.
Hello, good evening. That is some amazing advocacy, which is what PTA is all about. So thank you, Jennah, for everything that you've done. That's remarkable. Thank you for letting us come and give you an update tonight. Last night we held our annual Founders Day celebration, which is 125 years for National PTA, but also 100 years here in Farmington. PTA was established April 28th of 1922, so we're really excited about that. Thank you to the board members that were able to fit our event in your schedule and for attending, and Dr. Goodrum and Dr. Delgado. We appreciate that. We know that your schedules are very full, so it's probably hard to fit in. As part of the event last night, it was our privilege to honor and to highlight the work of two outstanding advocates for children who are making contributions within Farmington Public Schools, but also in the community. Dr. Bobby Hayes Goodrum was presented. She was presented with the PTA Council Member of the Year Award. And President Weems was presented with the PTA Council Christine Gregg Leadership Award. So we thank them again for their work that clearly demonstrates the PTA mission, which is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for children. So we have several things in process right now, including our annual student scholarship, which has just launched. We're actively seeking nominations for candidates for the council board for next year. And we also wanted to update you on the status of a grant that we received. We had mentioned to you a couple months ago that the Food Allergy Research Education Organization provided us a grant again this year. So earlier in March, we wrapped up a multi-week virtual reading program in partnership with Farmington Empowered and the Farmington and North Farmington PTSA students. So our goal was to raise awareness about food allergies, promote inclusion, and create a kinder community. So 1 in 3 children lives with a food allergy. So that's about 2 per classroom. And 40% of children living with food allergies have had a severe life-threatening episode. It's hard to believe, but bullying happens to children who suffer from food allergies, especially in a school setting. So thank you to Natalie Lowenfeld, Truman Jogdev, and Pauline Kim from North Farmington and Farmington High Schools. We were able to connect with 17 classrooms. And those classrooms heard, these were, Jennah's going to demonstrate some of the books that, these are the books, some of them, that we were using that the high school students were reading virtually to the classrooms. And they could interact with the younger students. And it was really a great combination and learning experience for both ages of students, teachers, and they will all receive several copies of the books that we were using there. I think Jen also passed out some of the FAIR documents over there. So it was amazing, and I believe that we may have some more of those virtual readings in the future, but Farmington High School is working on creating a virtual library in general, not just with the food allergy books. And it's Natalie Lowenfeld and her students have received a really amazing positive feedback from the classrooms about it. Just a couple of the other quick notes. I wanted to thank the board and President Weems for recently giving a synopsis of the Be Smart for Kids campaign, which is about the safe storage of weapons. And I know that I've heard it on more than one occasion that it's been mentioned here in the boardroom, so we appreciate that. And also to Diane Bauman for adding that to Peach Jar for us, so it's being distributed electronically to our families too. It's such an important message. One other thing that I have is, don't forget that April 1st is First Friday Purple Out for Farmington Empowered. Please wear your purple shirt and any other purple you have, and please consider posting it on Facebook and tagging Farmington Empowered to help create a kinder community. And then Jen has a legislative update for PTA.
So in a normal year, I'd be standing here talking about how I had just been to DC for National PTA's LegCon, the Dunhill Day, and the first week of March, and then also gone to Lansing for Michigan PTA's Advocacy Day, usually the third week in March. But it's not a normal year, and so National PTA is delaying. Their LegCon is going to be combined with the National PTA 125th year convention in June in DC, and so the Hill Day will be June 14th for National PTA. But I can allay your fears, Dr. Blau. National PTA is always and forever advocating for full funding of IDEA, so at least you have all the parents in the nation working on that one. So Michigan PTA, we decided because of COVID to do virtual advocacy again this year, and so we just held our advocacy summit on Saturday morning, which we launched our asks for this year, and I'll just sum them up for you. We are, of course, asking for increased school funding here at the state level as well. including IDEA and Title I funding. Second ask is opposing the 2 Let My Kids Learn voucher petition campaigns. The third ask is supporting Seizure Safe Schools Bill, House Bill 4970 specifically, and I would like to make an aside. We can pull out our purple on Saturday for advocacy, for Epilepsy Awareness Day as well. And then the fourth ask is supporting increased school safety, which includes specific asks around gun safety and other things. So I didn't want to give you all of the background. I have one set of the entire asks, and perhaps somebody can make copies for you. But I did want to mention that in my role as Farmington Area PTA Council Vice President of Advocacy and not Michigan PTA, I initiated the request with both Representative Steckloff and Senator Moss's offices 2 weeks ago to ask for dates and being mindful of our student voice and wanting to make sure that students can attend these meetings. I have heard back from Sam's office that it'll be the end of April before I can get on her docket. So we'll keep you updated when we figure that one out, but the hope is that we can have students participate and present some of these legislative priorities to our own representatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for your advocacy and for your support of the district. And next up, I see him coming up, Mr. Thomas Hall from our Farmington African American Parent Network with an update from FAAPN.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good.
Good evening.
That's good. So real quick, for the Farmington African American Parent Network, for our update, just want to first start off by saying, just getting a recognition because we haven't made a more of a acknowledgement. We have made an acknowledgement, but more of a praise for the students last month in February for all the racial incidents that was happening. And as a FAAPN, we really appreciate how everyone, how they came out for support with that. And it was a very swift and quick decision. It was no delay or anything like that. So we really appreciate that. Been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of parents. And I just wanted to convey that over. Now, with the FAAPN, we want to let you know we kicked it off back in January 15th of this year because just everything was just going so crazy or whatnot, and we didn't know how to actually put this program back together. And so a lot of folks was like, just get it together. I don't care what's that. Well, we got to, how about this detail and all that. And I remember talking to Dr. Goodrum, and she was saying, just put it together. We figure it out. I'm like, and I was like, okay, all right, let's go ahead and roll it out. So once we rolled it out, that the first week we had to shut down our website for registration because it was that much in demand. And from there, we have been just rolling like a steamboat, or a steam train or whatever they call it. And I mean, for everything that just came together for us, I won't say not really disorganized, but not really that organized, how we had everything just came together like a miracle in which that people came out supported. We had many volunteers that stepped up. And, it was so many Saturday mornings, I'm literally praying. I said, I don't know if we're going to have enough tutors. And then around like 9, 10 or so, I would get a flood of tutors like, hey, we're tutors, we need some help. I was like, good, because there's somebody over here that has calculus or geometry that I don't have a clue how to do. And for all the help of all the, the Hackbots team, the Black Student Union, the PTA Kids organization that comes out, North Farmington volunteer. I mean, it's just been beautiful, and we come out and also the all the board members that come out and help out, and the Dr. Blouse that bring all these other people that are like, who are these folks? Like, they just want to help. And they all retired folks, and they just got that itch. And I was like, well, hey, come on, we can scratch it over here. And so, that's beautiful. And also with, Miss Fox, she usually comes out and just say, hey, I think she got a bond with one little student that always looks for her, and she always hugs her and everything like that. So it's,
I love that child.
yeah. So it's just a whole bunch of bonding that I see. Miss Claudia, she's over there in the room, just hammering out with a couple of the kids, with the teacher on the board, and with the others. It's just, I see a light that everybody has, just that enjoyment. And I say this is what it's all about, because it's nothing. I just want something that's so super pure that people want to help on a Saturday morning from 9 to 11, and it's just magical, because I know I can do a whole bunch of other things on Saturday morning than be here. But I love being here. I think everybody who does love being here. We have many students with testimonials, parents saying, like last week we had one student, she was having a problem with geometry, and they didn't know how to turn or whatnot. She came in very, very distraught, and we was like, well, I guess we're going to wait till somebody come in that has geometry. I don't know how to do all that, but as soon as she said that, it's like matter of seconds, somebody popped in and said, hey, I can do geometry. I was like, see how that works? So I think that's like a divine thing that happens with our group. And with the parents, he said that she came out, really excited and crying, saying, hey, I understand geometry now. So that what matters. And I try to, as FAAPN, we try to make this as a pure program, and also we have an enrichment program, because we bring in other things, such as the, for the hat box demonstration to give kids in STEM. We have the public's, the Farmington Community Library came out and did and read to the kids and show other program. So we're just not here just to tutor, but just to enrich other folks. We're trying to get major corporations to come in to show their technology, so they can get kids interested in their fields and everything like that. So it's an organic that just things is just blossoming into other things. That's part of our core group of just being here for the kids and everything. That is, so with that, we have, we really thank you for the resources, especially with the snacks, because after a while, brother get kind of broke going to Sam's Club every week with spending all that money trying to feed, an average of 60, 70 kids that's here. And some of the kids seem like, they take advantage of those snacks. So, we really appreciate the services that was offered, that now we don't really have to have that on our mind every single week. And we don't have to have it, but I think it's a nice have, just for kids to come out for having it. And with that, we have more programs coming out, coming up next month. Actually, just to let you know, next 2 Saturdays we won't be in session. Just to let you know, because of spring break. Some parents are like, well, can you just meet somewhere else? I said, no, let's take a break, okay? So enjoy yourselves, and and they're gonna come back. We're gonna come out April 9th to come back with that. And with that, we may have some, like during that week, we may have another enrichment like yoga or some meditation, for help anxiety kids and everything like that. So, there's a whole bunch of different things we're going to be putting together for it. I think that's with the Super Saturday. So with that, we also have our general meetings that's coming up. We're going to have our past general meeting. We had some people that came in to give us some information about the NWEA testing, and also some other resources, such as the 3rd grade reading law and some other things that's interesting to parents to learn and everything. And they came on and spoke about that. We really appreciate that. We have upcoming meetings such as in April, we're having like a membership drive for FAAPN, so if people want to come and see how they can help out and help us plan for our future events, because this FAAPN is so hot right now, as in, it's just so everybody wants to get involved with us, and we're just trying to now organize it because of, our momentum that we're having, which is great for everyone, okay? And at the end of the year, we're trying to have a celebration at the, like June 4th or something like that. We're most likely going to do a pancake breakfast. I heard rumblings that we're trying to get a food truck, but I'm not going to say that because, depending on how our funding goes and whatnot. But just to celebrate that all the volunteers that came out and that, and just have everybody have a good time, especially sending off into the summer. And also, another parent asked us, are we going to do anything for like tutoring over the summer? And I said, for that, I'm not sure because, we try to tap into some other resources that somebody else may have because we have the summer school that can take place, but also the person said the summer school that can't work with them because of their work schedule or whatnot. So, so we'll hopefully get some more resources for that. Other than that, that's really all the information I had to say. We just keep strolling and going and not giving up and just seeing what happens next.
Thank you for that presentation. I did have one follow-up question. You mentioned that there may be another general meeting in April sometime. Did you have a date yet?
I want to say April 21st, but it haven't been really confirmed yet.
Okay, so then I won't write it down yet.
Right.
Okay, I'll wait to hear.
So, yes.
Okay. Mrs. Fox?
Oh, yes. I am just so proud of what we see on Saturday mornings. During the week, we talk about achievement gaps, we talk about all kinds of things. And what this board has done and various staff members that are out here have created an attitude of all hands on deck. And I am just so proud of what we do. Every one of these members have been there to tutor. There are people out here on the central staff who is there every Saturday. And the kids are just wonderful. And we break up. This room here is all elementary kids. When you go to the room further over here, all of the high school math, like Claudia and the high school math goes all in there. And it's almost like it's the room in there, everybody, you've got all of these volunteers with these kids who are doing these upper level math and science. And if you walk in there, it's just amazing what they're doing one-on-one with these kids. It's just amazing. Then there's another room just for reading. There was a little kid the other day, last Saturday, who told his tutor, I need to get out of here, there's not enough quiet space. We got him to the quiet space. It's just a wonderful thing. And it just gives my heart. It's the reason why I am on this board, to be a champion for children. And this is so credible in terms of saying any kid comes in here, any kid that has an issue, we're going to help make that happen. So I want to thank not only FAAPN, but I want to thank this district who has come together, all hands on deck. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, Mrs. Smith.
I appreciate you coming and giving your report, but I also want to piggyback off of what Ms. Fox is saying. What people don't realize is our cabinet and superintendent, including his wife, takes their Saturday and come in here. Dr. Delgado, Dr. Bobby Goodrum, Dr. Coffin, Mrs. Delgado, Dr. Delgado, they're all here. Now, I'm not tutoring because your kid will be held back maybe a year or two. But at the end of the day, I am here to answer any questions. I'm the food truck, I'm not the food truck lady, but I'm the one that's talking to pancake breakfast and stuff. But at the end of the day, I hear so many people say this is a village. It is a village. It's a village with a superintendent that comes here on Saturday with his wife. Dr. Goodrum is not walking around, you know, running things. She's sitting there with the kid. You look up and you got Dr. Coffin with her head down working with some students. And here I'm trying to get some bagels from Panera. People, you know, I'm that feeding person. I'm the one that wants to call, you know, Angie Davis. You know, and the thing is, they keep getting us confused. I might just start answering her emails that I am Angie Davis and get a couple of them little muffins on Saturdays. But it's a beautiful thing to see your board member. You got Zach sitting there with Mr. Rich. Sitting at one point, I thought it was a student from Farmington, one of the football players helping some kids. But it's our board is here. And you know, the thing is, your superintendents and the cabinet, you know, they're not just here Monday through Friday and they're gone. They're here on Saturdays too. And I mean, to get up at 9 o'clock, me 9:30, 10 o'clock, but everybody else, 9 o'clock, and here with these children. So I appreciate this. And like I said, there's 70 students that come every Saturday, and they're all of all ethnicities. So FAAPN, don't get it, you know, the acronyms mixed up where it's just for African Americans. We have students of all persuasions here. And we have staff and community members of all persuasions that are tutoring these kids. And I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for providing the space for us to do that and be very, very helpful.
And tell them don't keep moving these chairs down because we're feeling like, you know, the little Oompa Loompas because our chairs are kind of, we had to remember how to lift them up here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Carol. Our next district update, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kelly Coffin, our Assistant Superintendent of Strategic Initiatives and Innovation for our bi-monthly innovation presentation.
Hello, good evening. Very excited today to get out of Mr. Lovio's way. To have our presentation this month on innovation around our remote and virtual program. So prior to the pandemic, the district was in discussion about how do we expand our services to our families. And one of those ideas for expansion was to provide a virtual or remote learning experience. And so COVID just kind of pushed that forward a little bit more quickly. And so what Mr. Lovio and his team are going to share with you is the direction that our remote and virtual programs are going. And so when we started this and Mr. Lovio took this position, we were pretty clear that this isn't just replicating what kids have in person learning. It's really bigger and better than that because our families are looking for opportunities and choice that best meet the needs of their children. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lovio and his team.
Hello, everyone. I am so pleased to just be here and have an opportunity to introduce a few of our great remote educators and talk a little bit about some of the innovative teaching practices in the remote and virtual department. But first, I want to address a question. Why? Why remote learning? Why virtual learning? Well, in short, it's about choice. It's about options for families, and it's about Farmington investing in the future of personalized and flexible learning. I had a conversation with a family this week. They have 2 8th graders that are going into high school in the fall, and they have homeschooled their children their entire career. And they joined us this past year in the remote department, and everyone in their household works from home, and just for them, a chance to be together, to work together, for them, remote learning just works. I was speaking to another family a few weeks ago. Their student, an 11th grader, is very passionate about the culinary arts. In the morning, they attend OSTC culinary arts classes and are getting college credit for that. And in the afternoon, they join us in the virtual program. And for them, self-paced virtual computer-based programming just works. So And I have the privilege of hearing stories like this almost every week from across K-12 in our district. And I am just so proud to be a part of the work that Farmington is doing to support every learner and family. So thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce, we have some contributions from a few different remote teachers. Second grade teacher, Mrs. Jennifer Nottenkamper. Third grade teacher, Mrs. Radanovic. Fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Gay Williams. And live here with us to present the rest is Mrs. Chris Machuda.
Hi, thank you for having us here today, and it's my pleasure to be able to represent our program and the educators that are in it and our learners. It's fun. I love the remote program, and I think if you've seen me, you know how much I love it. Our students are ambitious, they're kind, they're hardworking, and they're innovative, and they come to us and say, can we do this? Can we do that? And you'll see that I've had to do a little learning this year to keep up with them because they had some big ideas. But we are just glad to be able to be here, so thank you for having us. And how do we go about doing this? Okay. Sure. Yes. Okay, so this is Jen's. Okay, so Jen Nottenkamper is one of our second grade teachers, and she has put together a video to share what's going on in the second grade program.
Hi, everyone. This is our remote second grade technology integration of science, reading, and writing. So we started out with why do living things live in certain places, and we used Padlet for our predictions. The word habitat came up a lot, so our class decided that they would like to research habitats and try to answer the question of why do living things live in certain places. So we went back to Padlet and used it to vote so that students could vote on which habitat they were most interested learning more about. In our reading groups, we used books from Literacy Footprints to support our comprehension and to read more about habitats. Then we took the notes from the books that we read in our reading groups and added them to our shared research in Padlet. Each group added their own notes. And then we went back into Epic where I assigned groups books closer to their reading level, and we used this for our reading groups. We again read about the adaptations of animals, the adaptations of plants, what it was like there, the climate, and added our notes to Padlet. And now we're in the final stages of taking those notes from Padlet and transferring them over into our writing book creator, which supports our shared research in nonfiction.
So our third grade teacher, Jennah Radovanovic, is putting what she and Miss Gundel White have been doing this year as well.
Hello, my name's Grant, and I am a remote learner in Mrs. Rad's class, and I'll be showing you why we like book creators. One reason is because we can draw and make it all glittery and galaxy and stuff, and how we can insert images and change the color to make it rainbow or grassy, goldy, and how we can insert images and voice recording. And also insert images that go good with our books.
This is my part. So, and this also will have the other part next to it. I think he had another section with it. So, okay. So I have a student here, well, a couple of students that had asked if they could be the one to tell you about our program. So I said yes. And we'll start here.
Hi, I'm Arav and I'm from 4th grade remote program in Miss Machuda's class. My friends and I are here to share about how we are innovative at school.
We have been using our creative thinking to make Wii videos on ancient Greece and government.
Actually, one of my classmates brought up the idea of Wii video. The only problem is that Miss Machuda didn't know how to do Wii video. So, Yashika actually taught herself how to do Wii video and offered to teach Miss Machuda too.
Yes, just like Arav said, I explored Wii video and offered to teach Mrs. Machuda and helped her understand how Wii video works and told her all about the features.
We use Jamboard with friends or partners to work together and brainstorm. We use it to learn things too. We also use Jamboard for POD or working on ancient Greece. We need it for a quiz like Pi.
We also use Jamboard by ourselves or work together in groups. We also use Jamboard to work on ancient Greece and do our science. In addition, we help each other and share our thinking by using Padlet.
Thank you, boys and girls. Yashika, Layla, Arav, Evie, and Layan. I appreciate you sharing what is going on in our classroom today. They're great. So, and it's true, it was interesting because I had asked Mrs. Tyner to come over and to show us a little bit with Wii video. So she had come this one morning, and we're all talking about it. They're so excited. And then Dr. Delgado came in and peeked in behind my class, and they said, "We're going to do a Wii video report." And we had not said that. So, and then he didn't know that, and he said, "Oh, that's great. I can't wait to see it." And I'm like, "Oh." So I said, "You guys, you put me in a bad spot here." And they said, "Oh, we'll learn it. We'll learn it." So Yashika said, "Mrs. Machuda, if you can meet me after school on Friday, we'll do this." So we spent about 4 hours going through it, and she taught me everything, and then she taught me it again later. But she really was the brainchild behind, how do you do this? And they were so excited, and they knew they had certain goals, and so they had to do these little writing pieces, and they had to turn them in, and they had to talk to each other. And so we have a couple examples for you. This is all
Hi everyone, my name is Yashika Yarmala. Today you are going to learn about ancient Greece, the government, 2 goddesses, and also the Greek pottery. Let's begin. Government. Ancient Greece has started many things that influence the world today. One major thing it created was democracy. Democracy was not the first government ancient Greece had, though. If you check a timeline all the way to the past of ancient Greece, it starts out with monarchy. The land was ruled by rulers such as kings. They ruled from about 2000 BCE to 800 BCE. The firstborn son reigns after his father's death. During that time, the monarchs had most trusted advisors called aristocrats. They later overthrew the rulers/monarchs because they wanted power for themselves. The aristocrats only had men in it. They formed an oligarchy, a small group of people who governed together. They made the rules for the benefit of themselves and rich citizens, not poor people. Some men became tyrannies. Later, citizens overthrew the men in the oligarchy. Cleisthenes helped run a new government called a direct democracy. He's now known as the father of democracy.
So we'd kind of cut it. So this is Divyansh.
Greek god. The immortal, the most powerful Greek god, the king of Greek gods, and one of the Olympian gods. Lots of powers. Who could that be? Possible guess. Yes, that is Zeus.
And then this little girl, Madison, worked very hard and took a lot of pride in what she was doing and really came out of her shell this year. So this has been fun watching her.
The Athenians invented a democracy, a new type of government where every citizen could vote on important issues, such as whether or not to declare war.
So I don't know if I want to show the whole thing here, but Mithra is one of our students that is actually in India. And so we'll go to school in the middle of the night. And when she did this, what we had done is we were trying to find ways that we could help each other and build that community and still have that interaction, but yet be apart. And so the Padlets that we use and the Jamboards kind of help to do that because they can videotape themselves solving a problem and then other kids can talk about it. So I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I'll just give you a very brief glimpse. Maybe. Okay.
So problem 1 and problem 2 are the problems that I chose. So one way to solve problem 1 is if we want to get the product 50, first we would do that because I meant for this part to be in parentheses. And 8 times 10, if we wanted to get the product 50, we can multiply 10 and 5. Now that we have 50 for over here, we would add 8 to get 58. So our key would be A equals 5 and B equals 8. Another way.
So we're going to stop there. But then what kids would do is they would talk about it and they would give feedback and some suggestions. And they're learning how to do that where it's not about the person, but about the actual problem that they're trying to solve. And so this is just some examples of some of the Jamboards and some of their responses where they can talk to each other and help to grow that thinking. And this is on the Padlet. So we're going to go to 5th grade, and Miss Williams had, this one right here, thank you. She had shared a few things. And so this right here is, they had a field trip that they went to Heritage Park. And what she says is that field trips are being their experience, focusing on STEM activities, and that the kids were so excited and so happy to be able to see each other and to interact together. And it's just really a highlight for all of them. And then they, have been working on thematic lessons. And so this one was learning about important women in history. And then they would go through their different things, and they, again, would be able to work together. And it may seem like, for some people that, wow, that's they really don't get to be together, but they do. These kids are excited. They love each other. They're so kind, and it's like a family when they get to come together, or if a few kids come in and work with you in class, and they're so excited. They just start jumping up and down, but this works for them. It works for their families, and we're really proud of our program. So this is a picture here, bonding as a family of learners, and we just wanted to leave you with that. This is a program that we welcome everybody, and we're excited to be a part of it. And Curtis has done a great job of leading us. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Machuda. Yes, you can. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add, and Ms. Machuda started to mention this, that we do recognize how important it is that learning is social. Learning is a social experience. And so in a variety of ways, we make sure that students have those social opportunities when they're a part of the remote and virtual program as well. It can be in-person things, like we'll do after-school recess meetups, either at Farmington playgrounds or around our local parks here. It's about these field trips and other experiences. And we also have students that are brought in sometimes in small groups to work with teachers as well. So just want to mention we value that part of the learning and make it work for those families as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Mrs. Fox?
So it looks like it's an elementary virtual experience.
This is what we highlighted tonight, yes,
Okay.
but it
Can
is
you give me
K-12.
kind of a little bit more information on the technical end in terms of, is it K-12? Is it asynchronous or is it synchronous? It looks like there's a teacher that's streaming with the elementary students. Is that correct?
Yes, so I'll try to answer in a brief overview. So in the elementary for this year, we have just a live synchronous program. So there are remote teachers who have a full class, and it's structured similar to a typical day. They're with the teachers throughout the day, either doing individual, small group, whole group activities, some asynchronous work, but that teacher is synchronously available and working with them or a small group all day long through that instructional school day. So in that way, very similar to a in-person experience. In the middle school, similarly, we have a remote program. There's a 4-teacher team, so one of each of the core subjects that teaches those live classes, and then they have a variety of elective options as well. And in the middle and high school, we have the self-paced virtual programs. So that's what you think of when you might think virtual or computer-based. Right now, primarily on the Edgenuity platform. So they go in and they can work anytime asynchronously on those classes. So some students have a mix of those remote live classes and other asynchronous classes. And some families choose to have all asynchronous, that works better for their family. Similarly, in the high school, there are remote options as well. We don't have any full remote high school teachers. They are all in-person high school teachers who might have 1 or 2 sections that they teach that are a live remote class. So just the main core classes that every high schooler might need, those are available live, and the rest of their opportunities are completed virtually.
Okay, thank you.
This is Dr. Blau.
Yes, 2 quick things. One, I noticed you have a student who's in India.
Yes, on vacation. Not forever.
Oh, okay. But that's wonderful that she's on vacation in India and still able to participate, albeit in the middle of the night. But that's really, really quite remarkable. And then you began to answer about the electives. How are electives handled with our students?
Great question. So a little bit differently at the different levels. In elementary, similarly actually to the high schools, there's no fully remote electives teacher, so for physical education, art, music. Instead, from across the district, any teacher that had an extra section available in their schedule, they work with some of our remote students to still give them a live experience in those areas. And they do enjoy it, and they're really doing it too. Even the physical education. I popped into a classroom the other day, and the kids were exhausted. They were like sweating, and so they're really doing it.
Wonderful.
And in the middle school, we have a limited selection of live electives. We have some instrumental music courses and health, and we're looking to add some other options as well. Some of those are going to be changed and added to for next year, both live and asynchronous. But it's primarily asynchronous, virtually based in the electives right now for middle and for high school. For high school, it is entirely the virtual-based electives right now. So there's no live options currently in the high school piece.
Thank you.
Mrs. Heinrich?
Yeah, just a couple questions. You, as far as physical space, you said that sometimes the students come in and work with the teachers, and I know that you're housed at, so what kind of physical space
So where are we?
does that require? Yeah.
So we are temporarily at the former Farmington Community School. There's a wing there, and that's where our offices are. So we've used that as kind of a flex space for different things. Students will come in for, the English language learners testing, for small group work, whatever the miscellaneous items that we might have, working with teachers, small group, they're coming there. So we are still relooking at what our classroom or flexible space will be for the fall, because that building is going to be under construction come this summer. So we will be moving. Our offices are most likely going to be moving to East Middle School, and there's some big flex spaces there, like the large LGI that we'll be able to use. And we're still looking into kind of where some of the remote teaching locations will be for some of our K-8 staff.
Okay, and then the other part of my question was, you said that like for the high school, it's self-paced. Do you provide any support or help for the students that need help, or is that provided by our district, or do they have to do that on their own?
Yes, great question. So there are two parts to the high school program. Some students do have those remote live sections with Farmington Public Schools teachers, live synchronously, similar to how they would in person. So that's some students. Some students have a mix of those classes and the asynchronous classes. And I believe you were asking about how are those supported, those virtual asynchronous classes. So we have Farmington Public School teachers who are mentors. They have a mentor caseload. So they're the ones checking in, talking to those students and families every single week, making sure that they're on track, on progress to gain credit, directing them to resources if they need additional support. And also the district has subscribed as part of their virtual platform some other resources that help students as well. So for example, when a student is in the virtual learning platform, they can actually hit a live tutoring button and on demand anytime during the school day, have an expert in that subject area be available to jump in and help them live.
That's cool.
So there's a mix of supports.
Mr. Walker?
My question just got answered. Thank you. Excellent.
You're welcome.
So this was a very interesting presentation. I actually really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I had some questions related to the virtual program that I submitted and got some answers back. I thank you so much for that. It's very clear to me that we should just all be prepared. The school that we knew of it, school of the past, is not going to be the school of the future. It's just not. That's something that we just have to acknowledge. And it's not just what kids are learning, but how they learn. You know, the way we've been instructing and delivering instruction for the past hundreds of years is just not the way kids will learn in the future. You talk about attention spans, you talk about the technology that they have in front of them. And it's not just because of COVID, it's just because of the flexibility that we're all starting to demand. I really appreciate the fact that, this is a great option for such many families who travel, maybe in the future, families who move, who want to keep that family or friend structure together or sense of community together. I think that this is great that we're being innovative here and testing this out. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm so excited by what you're creating here, you and your colleagues. I shouldn't be surprised because this is what we do here in Farmington. We innovate and we educate our students in whatever ways they need. This is just really so out of the box and so just creative, innovative, and exciting to see the kinds of things that you are doing together with the teachers and students. And a student, they came up with an idea and they figured it out and taught the teacher. How wonderful is that?
I love that.
How wonderful.
Absolutely.
And that the teacher was open to that. Oh, it's just so phenomenal. So phenomenal. So bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh,
I
Mr.
did
Walker.
have just one more question. For the high school kids, and perhaps even the middle school kids who want to participate in athletics or those kinds of extracurriculars, are they able to join with the local team or the local school's team or something along those lines, or is there something else available for them?
So yes, absolutely. They are able to stay as culturally connected as they wish to that home school. We do have a handful of remote and virtual students who are playing on sports teams, and so they're going to practices after their remote and virtual school, and certainly are participating in some of the festivities. And the high schoolers definitely going to be going to the respective big end of year events as well. So yes, they are definitely connected.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Smith?
So how do you, thank you, Ms. Williams, how do you acknowledge what school? So like say you have someone that wants to play football, do they get to choose North or Farmington?
No, they do have to play for their address-based home school.
Okay,
Yes,
so if they're a school of choice student,
then it's the school of choice that they
Gotcha.
head in
That makes
for.
sense.
Yes. Wherever they would have gone if they were in person that year.
That's good
Yes.
to know.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank, too, Dr. Delgado and Dr. Coffin, who have really supported this work. And we're not keeping this innovative work to ourselves, too. The technologies that we get to use, the practices that we get to experiment with, we share those with our colleagues across the district. And our hope is that it helps spark and grow innovation across all programming, not just in our department. So, thank you.
And I'll keep going. Our last district update of the evening, certainly excited to hear from Dr. McDougall on the social emotional learning update.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We spend a lot of time talking about social emotional learning. As a matter of fact, we talk about what we can do for our students all of the time. We know that there's a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, around not only with our students, with our staff, but with our staff as well. So we're constantly trying to come up with innovative ways to help work with our students and to figure out what we can do to bring them along. We realize that there are often times that we have to reach out to community agencies. We do have contacts with community mental health agencies within the Farmington area. We also refer out for psychiatric evaluations as needed. So there's a lot of support that's out there. Tonight, though, we're going to talk about our social emotionally learning team that is within Farmington. And I have with me tonight Valeda Sargent, who is over secondary SEL, and Onisha Martin, who's over elementary, to help talk about it.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Valeda.
Hello, my name is Onisha Martin.
We're going to get set up here.
Our presentation is going to be a little interactive, so you see a lot of our technology, and we thought we'd share it with you to get you a little bit engaged in our presentation today. So if you have a device, we invite you to pull it out. You will be putting, the presentation is coming up on the screen, so just go to joinpd.com.
So we use our phone?
Yep, you can use your phone or your computer, whatever device you feel most comfortable with.
And this is not an Open Meetings Violation Act.
And so the code is on your screen, WGLOJR. Or it gives this really funny code, warm grapes loudly officiate juicy raisins. Don't know what that means, but in case you needed it spelled out. Wonderful. I'll give just another moment, I know.
Am I going to win a prize?
Would you put the two WG?
You have to first type in joinpd.com.
Joinpd.com?
Joinpd.com.
Okay, so WGL.
And then WGL. OJR is the code.
There we go. Are the surveys up? Are the surveys up?
On our presentation.
Did you put a space between those two?
No, you don't have to put the space in. I appreciate you guys so much for entertaining us. Thank you. All right, so the code is still up there in the case that you haven't put it in, but we're going to go ahead and get started and giving you a little bit of information about what's going on with social emotional learning here in the district.
All righty. I am Valeda Sargent, and I work over at Farmington High School, and Onisha and I, we're very grateful just to be here, so thank you all for allowing us just to chat for a brief period of time, and we promise we will be very brief, just giving you an update on SEL work. So when we talk about SEL and social and emotional learning, we like to refer back to this diagram, and this is from CASEL. CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. We always like to just highlight the connection between academics and SEL, because sometimes folks believe that SEL is an add-on, but really it's connected. If you think about this inner circle, a student in a classroom, to really be successful, they're gonna have some relationship skills, some responsible decision-making, self-management, self-awareness, social awareness. All of those are gonna be a part of them being their best academically. So we just like to highlight that connection. When we talk about the SEL staff, specifically, we're speaking of the counselors, the psychologists, the RP facilitators, and the social workers. And we have these folks throughout the schools, secondary and elementary. This again is from CASEL. SEL, and this is their definition, it's kind of long. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults, and I always laugh, why did they make the distinction, young people and adults? Why not just say people? But here we go. So SEL is the process through which people acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. Feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. Now that was a mouthful, right? But when you think about it, all of this has to do with just living. You know, on any given day, you're gonna be doing all of those things. And if you wanna end up a productive community member or a citizen, you'll have to embody all of those.
All right, which leads us to our question for tonight. This is a true-false question, so on your device that you have available, I would like for you to answer whether the statement is true or false. Michigan has grade-level competencies for social-emotional learning. Ooh, interesting. So again, this is a part of the technology that we use with our students. They have the ability to see the answers, to make the decisions. Sometimes there's a little bit of peer pressure. It looks like someone's going back and forth. So the answer is actually, you sure? Everyone sure? Okay, so the answer is actually true. Michigan does have grade level competencies for social emotional learning. Michigan is one of 20 states that currently does have competencies for social emotional learning. And so that's really important because it all is actually based on the CASEL the CASEL competencies that the lady was talking about before. And so I just kind of gave some examples on this screen about what those look like. So I gave some examples for K2 all the way through 12. My favorite that I put on here is responsible decision making. Anyone that has or works with teenagers will love the 6th through 8th one, for advocating for oneself in a respectful and deliberate manner if they're believed to be treated unfairly. Because our teenagers absolutely love to advocate for themselves. It doesn't always come across appropriately, right? So we want to make sure that we're helping to make sure that students are getting the supports to be able to engage and become well-rounded speakers and engaging with the community. So those are just a few examples of what those competencies look like for all of our students.
So some of the highlights, and we aren't going to go through everything, but we'll just pinpoint a few of these items. Each year, we do a fall, a winter, and a spring wellness survey. And we do this at the secondary level. Onisha is going to tell you more about what happens at the elementary. But at the secondary level, we created a wellness survey in-house with the SEL staff. And so it's just our official way 3 times a year to get a pulse on what's happening with our kids. Now, we know in real life, our kids don't mind advocating. Many of them, they refer themselves to SEL staff for support. We get referrals from parents, also from other teachers and administrators. But when we do the surveys with the kids, it's always interesting just to see what they have to say. So this is a sample of the Farmington data from Farmington High School. So we ask the kids, how are you? And it's a brief survey, takes them usually about 4 minutes. We start off asking them how they are. Then we go a little more specific and allow them to tell us more details about how they're feeling, if they've been down, if they're feeling optimistic, etc. We go on to ask them, are they connecting with their friends? Are they getting their work done? The part that always cracks me up, we first ask them, I have it, or we ask them, I have, or do they have at least one adult who's checking in on them? And then oftentimes the kids will say yes. Then after that, we'll ask them, would you like another adult to check in on you and give you just some extra support? And overwhelmingly, what do you think the teenagers say? No. No, they want 0. You know, a lot of times they'll tell us no. But as we look at the data and really dig into it, we'll sometimes find students who say they don't want any extra support, but then they might say they're struggling or they are in need of various resources. So we ignore the fact that they say they don't want the extra support, and we offer support anyway. And that support can come in the form of just more check-ins with a SEL staff member. Sometimes they just want paper resources, pamphlets, all kinds of information in that regard. But we do these surveys 3 times a year officially, just as a way to get the pulse of what's happening with the kids. The pictures that you see on your screen now, those are from the Counseling Cafe, which was piloted at Farmington High School. And it's been working out really nicely. They do it at least once or twice a month, where they lay out a whole cafe experience during lunch where kids can come in, check in with the counselors, just get extra support. You see all of the resources on the table. And they also have warm drinks, so they have tea and cocoa and snacks. And the kids are really enjoying it because it's an opportunity for them to connect with their counselors and for the counselors to just be even more visible. You'll notice on the picture at the top, some of those materials on the table are even from a grant that we received last year through Beaumont Hospital. So just another way to use the data and respond to our kids' needs.
So at the elementary level this year, we're doing a couple of different universal screeners. We have our SRSS, which we've been using for the last 5 years to gather data input from our general education teachers on how they perceive that our students are doing socially, emotionally, behaviorally, and academically. This year, we have 5 elementaries that are piloting the SABRs. And so that kind of gives us a better look at how our students are doing overall in those areas. It has a few more targeted questions that gives us better input on how we can support our students. And if we're looking at social emotional learning through the same lens as academics at that multi-tier of support, what we want is for 80% of our students to be being successful with the tier 1 supports that are available. And then the other 20% falling in with needing the tier 2, so the smaller group setting or the individual check-ins with an SEL person. And so as a district for those 5 buildings, we're currently showing that 84% of our students are falling in the not at risk, in the average range. They're not needing anything above the tier 1 support. So everything that's happening in the buildings with their teachers, their gen ed teachers, and the social emotional support is being successful. And then we have the 16% that are showing that they need the small groups or the additional check-ins in order to help them to be successful in the learning environment. So we're really using the data to inform how we can better support our students and how we can make sure that we have the appropriate things in place. And so one of the things that we have for K-12 is our Seo Strategy guide. That's something that's provided for all teachers to be able to implement social emotional learning in their classrooms. Make sure that they're making time for group conversations, making space for their students to make sure that it's a safe place to learn and engage in every aspect of their day. So all of our K-12 teachers have access to our strategy guide. And then other highlights that we have in order to make sure that our SEL people are best available to support our students is we make sure that there are trainings that they're able to go to. So we have things ranging from virtual trainings with Navigate 360 to in-person trainings on mental health first aid, supporting teacher wellness so that we can better support student wellness. And we also attend new staff inductions in order to give them feedback on how they can support their classrooms. So we're really trying to make sure that everyone in the district has the information that they need to support themselves and our students. And as we were saying earlier, we, for the past couple of years, have been receiving a grant from Beaumont Hospital. And last year, our funding was specifically focused on secondary. And this year, we focused our funding a little bit more on elementary. And we've purchased 3 books to be spread out across the elementaries. And one of them is actually on your screen. It's the I Am, I Can, 365 affirmations for students. So really building that positive self-talk and learning how to steer your mental awareness and engagement so that you can actually be in a place where you're ready to learn and be engaged in school.
And finally, some of the support that we're offering students around mental health. We looked at our data and realized that kids wanted even more in terms of an assembly. So at the secondary level, we would do a fall mental health, and well, actually it was a fall mental health awareness day. The kids spoke, and they told us that they wanted to do a spring mental health awareness day. And not only did they want to do a spring mental health awareness day, they wanted us to change the name. So now it's mental health and wellness awareness. And we appreciated that feedback because wellness does matter. So they wanted us to make sure that we broaden our explanation. So that's what we're doing at the high school, and we're collaborating within all of the high schools. Actually, everybody's working together, and it's open for all of the secondary schools to participate. So on April 6th, we have our Spring Mental Health and Wellness Awareness Day with Dr. Polly Gibson. She's a clinical psychologist from U of M. Go Blue, right? Go Blue. So she's from U of M, and she's going to work with our kids virtually that day, and we're going to have the workshops and breakout sessions in the midst of her presentation. So that's coming down the pipe, and we're excited about it. In fact, the picture at the bottom of the screen, you see the flyer with Dr. Gibson at the top, but the picture at the bottom, that's from our Fall Mental Health Awareness Day, which was held in person, and one of the icebreaker activities involved that giant beach ball, if you all can see it on your screen. So that was something that we did with the students as well.
And again, taking that same information into context for the lower level, this will be the first year that we're putting in place a Mental Health Awareness Month for the elementary schools. And so how we'll be addressing that is each week there will be a different topic that we'll be addressing with the students at their developmental level. So we might be addressing depression with 3rd through 5th graders, but we might phrase it a little bit differently for the kindergarten through 2nd, right? So we're putting in place something to make sure that all of our students, K-12, are learning and being able to have an understanding for what mental health looks like. We also have bully prevention activities during the month of October, which is Bully Prevention Month. It is a part of our curriculum that third graders receive it, but Farmington does have curriculum for bullying for kindergarten through fifth in order to make sure that we're supporting healthy schools for all of our students. And then I just want to key point some of the curriculums that we have available to better support the social emotional learning of our students. We have Quaver SEL, Second Step, Everyday Speech, Calm Classroom, and Navigate 360. So we're really putting a lot of investment into making sure that our students are able to emotionally regulate and be able to engage in their learning throughout the school day. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Where is this being held with the speaker? On the 16th?
On April 6th.
April 6th. Okay.
That one's virtual.
Okay.
They did the fall one in person at Farmington, but this one is virtual.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Heinrich.
Well, just a quick question. When you survey the students, then you know how the students are answering the questions so that the ones that say, I'm not completing my schoolwork, you know who they are and you can contact them?
We do.
Okay.
So this is thank you for bringing this to the board. This is a topic that is very timely and very important. The number of our kids who are suffering from depression and anxiety has doubled over the course of the past 2 years. And we already know that social emotional learning has been important, but I think the pandemic has certainly exacerbated the need. I am concerned because I'm hearing of reports from the CDC which say 1/3 of high school students report persistently feeling sad or hopeless. And 1 in 5 teens have seriously considered suicide. So this is very important, this is very timely, and I thank you for bringing it to the board. What I also wanted to mention was that on our Farmington Public Schools website, there is a space for social emotional support tools for families. It will outline free mental health counseling and resources that are available to families, and help for parents is very important to address this topic. I'm really happy to hear about these mental health and wellness days that you're supporting. I'm also trying to understand where and how we address, crises. So how are you identifying and where do we identify students who, are in crises, and what's happening throughout the district? Are we seeing, an increased need here?
So one of the things that we're finding is that we have psychologists, social workers, counselors throughout the district. Generally, a teacher might alert one of those people that something is going on. When that occurs, then we determine whether or not we need to provide a suicide risk assessment. We have a team that comes together, usually 2 people at a time, usually 2 mental health folks. If not, it will be 1 person and a mental health person within the building will conduct a risk assessment. We will determine at that time whether or not the risk is small, medium, or whether we need to move further. If it's a high risk, that means we're pushing that student to receive more help. We're calling in the SRO, we're calling the parents, we're saying we need to refer your student to a mental health facility. So we're pushing out. We make sure that whatever a student needs, we are providing that to them at that moment. One of the things we don't do is we don't suspend students who are talking about suicide. That would be one of the worst things we could do, because we know when a student goes home, if there's nobody there with them, then the likelihood or the ability to do it goes higher. So we make sure that they're at school and we're able to monitor those behaviors to ensure that they get back home safely, and that whoever they go with, they're also there to protect and make sure that they remain safe and receive the help that they need. We also do not say a kid can't come back to school because they are a risk. We do say, we recommend that you do this, and we keep pushing the parents and the support, their family support system to get the appropriate help that they need. Also, one of the things that's very important is anytime there is a major risk where a principal really believes that it's really serious, usually I will receive a call, or one of the social workers or whoever is working with that student will give me a call. There are other people like in community mental health that we have contact with that we can call and say, hey, I have a student I need you to see immediately. How quickly can you get to the student? So we do have some resources out there that we utilize. Okay.
You know, I just want to echo what Trustee Weems is talking about, how important this is. And I see this work that you all are doing, and I commend you on it, but I see it as a second layer for support of families, because there are times when parents are just trying to work and keep things going. They don't realize their kid is sad. They don't know, you know, and I know first-handedly that things like this happen and you don't even know. So I see this as, I'm very grateful to see that this is happening as a second layer to help parents, to help their children. Thank you.
Mrs. Smith.
I love the first layer here, which is the Farmington Public Schools are reaching out and helping students first. As adults, when you go through this, even adults can be bullies and say, hey, kill yourself, or, you know, you need to be in a mental institution, or you need your meds. Well, it's not funny. And as adults, we try to figure it out on, well, should we stick around or whatever? There's ways for us to try to work through this. But as students, they don't get it. They just take that first initiative as, well, you told me to do it, so I'm going to do it. But right here, what we have is a community, a district that is trying to help our students. And I know firsthand from going over to Farmington High, seeing the work that what Ms. Sargent is doing. I'm always trying to make everybody a doctor.
That's okay.
But we're not going to give you the doctor pay. But, not just yet. But at the end of the day, we do have a Miss Sargent and a Miss Corbett and a Miss Henry over at Farmington, North Farmington. And we have you, and we have Dr. McDougall. And I so appreciate that because I suffer from depression. And as an adult, it is very hard. It is not, it's a sickness. It is something that's not cured overnight. But as an adult, when you deal with this, people don't realize, as other adults, the bullying and the pressure they put on you, that we have to learn how to navigate away from it. And it's even, like I said, hard as an adult. So again, I echo what Ms. Fox is saying and what Ms. Weems is saying. This pandemic didn't make it better. And people keep saying, well, you look happy. Well, I didn't think you would do it. But there's a dark tunnel, and it's hard to come out that tunnel. And you don't see the light at the time. So thank you for helping our children. We've had children that have stood before us at this board that have shared some things. And I appreciate all the work that you do in your office. You always, it's never any room in your office, never. And same with Ms. Corbett back there. She don't want to take no credit for it, but they always have some kids. They're not in there just to skip class. They're in there to talk and get somebody to help them. So I appreciate it because you're saving lives. You're saving our babies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So before we round out, I also want to say thank you. And I want to remind everyone that you never know what someone is going through, whether a child or an adult. And so just be kind. And teach your children to be kind. Amen.
That's right.
It's very important. And address unhealthy behaviors. Thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you.
And those are the end of my district updates.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Delgado.
You're welcome.
We will now move on to reports from board committees. The first one is the Legislative Committee. Dr. Blau, do you have anything further?
Yes, I just wanted to share that at our recent Legislative Committee, we had an opportunity to meet with Carolyn Clairhout. Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
Yes.
She is from Oakland Schools, and she is the person who knows all about pupil accounting in terms of how we get credit for number of students, for a number of days, and see how all that is counted. And the reason we wanted to meet with her is so that we could begin to get some additional knowledge and awareness of what the limitations and restrictions are around pupil accounting, and also then what are some options that we might have going forward as we begin to think of new possibilities and new options for our students. That's.
Thank you, Dr. Blau. Any questions? We can move over to the Finance Committee. Mrs. Heinrich?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on March 16th, myself and Mr. Walker and Ms. Weems, and we had information on nutrition services, steamers and ovens, and Ms. Davis is going to provide information on that. They need to purchase some kitchen cooking steamers for East Middle School, Farmington STEAM Academy, and Power Middle School, and also some convection ovens for Hillside, Power, North Farmington High School. So we're going to get information on that. And because of the supply chain issues and the supply chain and the bidding prices, they're going to ask that we have a discussion and vote for approval on that today. So we'll look forward to more information and more details. We also heard about the auditor appointment. Ms. Pinchak is recommending that Plant Moran be appointed to perform the 2021-22 financial audit of district funds. And the district continues to compare our auditing costs with other school districts. And so that's kind of an important thing that's going on. And we also had a presentation on the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds, and Dr. Delgado, and that was, we had an update on that earlier. On that, yeah, I have a lot of notes on that, but she really talked about all the places that it's going. And we are also going to have a presentation at tonight's meeting about the budget timelines, parameters, and assumptions, and the forecast review. And so we had a preview of that. And that is it from the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, we can move on to discussion items. Dr. Delgado?
Yes, and first up, we have, okay, I don't know if Mrs. Kaminsky is going to introduce her, but come on up. Ms. Angela Davis, in charge of our food and nutrition services, to talk to us about an equipment purchase recommendation.
Good evening. Tonight I have two recommendations for you. The very first one is for the purchase of 3 cooking steamers to be placed at East Middle School, Farmington STEAM Academy, and Power Middle School. The other 3 secondary schools already have it, so these will be the remaining 3 secondaries, so they'll be consistent. These steamers will help improve the quality of the food while decreasing the cooking time in the kitchens. It's something that the kitchens currently do not have, so it's a new piece of equipment for the staff. The pricing was requested through the Wayne resub bid, and we received 3 quotes from the approved vendors, and they range from a little over $46,000 to almost $64,000. The Nutrition Services Department is recommending awarding the kitchen cooking steamers to the lowest price company of Stafford Smith for the total amount of $46,458. East Middle School and Power Middle School will receive the same piece of equipment that was costed out at $19,000 a little bit. And Farmington STEAM Academy is a little bit smaller at almost $7,600 due to the capacity of the kitchen and the plumbing. We're looking at what's most efficient for that school. Stafford has provided excellent pricing and service to Farmington schools in previous years. They were the lowest bid price, and we are asking for the quick turnover of the approval tonight because this bid price is only good through April 2nd. If approved by the board, the purchase of the STEAM equipment will be paid for out of Nutrition Services Fund. The second recommendation is to purchase 3 double convection ovens for Hillside Elementary, Power Middle School, and North Farmington High School. All of the equipment is equivalent. Hillside Elementary is a little bit larger due to the method of our cooking process with these wire baskets, but they're all double capacity ovens. The pricing was again requested through Wayne Risa, through an existing bid that they had, and they provided us with 3 approved vendors. The bid price ranged from almost a little over $32,000 all the way up to $58,000 for the 3 sets of the ovens. The Nutrition Services Department recommends awarding the convection oven to the company with the lowest price, Stafford Smith, for a total of $32,760. Again, Stafford has provided excellent service in previous years, and they are the lowest price. Again, we are asking for this to be discussed tonight because the price is only good until March 25th. I was given these bids last week, but if it's purchased after, they've already told us there's a 20% increase. And the lead time is 6 months out for this. So the demand is very, very high. It has to be a quick turnaround with it. It's very fortunate that we have an existing bid out there that we can use to try to do a turnaround. If, again, all approved by the board, it will be paid out of the Nutrition Services Fund.
Thank you for that overview. This was also reviewed, colleagues, during our Finance Committee meeting. There was an opportunity to ask some questions there. I think all of the questions that came up got addressed as part of this presentation, and this item will come back to us tonight under action items. Seeing no questions, I think that we can move on. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll keep rolling. So our next discussion item is the review of auditor appointment, and I see our Finance Director, Ms. Kim Pinchek, is coming up to tell us about that.
Hello, good evening. As you know, we come to the board every spring for a recommendation on our appointment of auditors for the upcoming school year fiscal end. We're making a recommendation again this evening to retain Plant Moran as our auditors for the 2022 audit. As you know, we are required to do an annual audit every year, not only of our basic financial statements, but also the additional report that they do, which is our single audit of federal funds. This year's fee quote was given to us for $62,000 for the all-encompassing for all of their work that they would be doing for all of our audit reports. That represents about a 3.5% increase from the previous year, or about $2,100. Most of that increase is proposed on the single audit side. As you know, we've received a lot of new grants with the COVID funding that we've received with ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, and all of those are required to be tested in our single audit every year. And so most of the fee increase is largely due to that increased testing with those funds. We continue to review our audit fee in conjunction with other districts across the county, and we believe that, despite the small increase this year, our fee still does remain very competitive. We did a survey with last year's Oakland County districts, and if you break down our audit fee on a per pupil basis, we are actually one of the lowest ones. We're the fourth lowest in the county for our audit fees. So we do feel that this is a very competitive price, and it is an audit service, so it does not require a bid, which is why we bring it to you as our recommendation for appointment each year.
Thank you. This matter was also brought to the Finance Committee. I had an opportunity to ask questions. I think the pricing is reasonable, competitive. I think the increase year over year is pretty negligible. Speaking as an auditor myself, Steele. So if anybody's got any questions, this matter will come to us. No, this matter will come to us at a future meeting. This matter is not for action tonight.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next two items are for our wonderful Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mrs. Jennifer Kaminsky.
Right. Pull up my presentation. Sorry, I can't figure out how to make it totally full screen. Okay, well, that'll work. All right, well, good evening. Here to talk about our budget timeline and budget parameters and assumptions for our 2022-23 fiscal year. And this is really the start of our budget development. So very early on in the process, we don't have a ton of information, so we've had to make some assumptions at this point. As we know more as we move through the process, we will revise those parameters and assumptions and, set our budget with the best known information. All right, so again, just quickly, the timeline at the March 8th board meeting, the board approved the resolution to hold our public hearing on the budget, which will be June 7th this year. Currently tonight, we're reviewing the timeline, the assumptions and parameters, and we'll ask for your approval at the April 5th meeting. The budget document will be available June 2nd. Again, we'll hold our public hearing to present the budget on June 7th. We'll review the tax levy at that time, and then we'll ask that the board adopt the budget as well as set the tax levy at the June 21st meeting. So just some of the key assumptions or factors that we kept in mind as we developed this budget. We want to maintain a high quality instruction and programming. We want to continue to provide necessary supports for students. We need to consider the inflation impact on our budget. There have been several categories that have gone up significantly. We know what the governor's school aid budget is. However, we don't have one from the House or Senate yet. And then also maintain that fund balance that falls within the board policy of 10 to 15%. So on the revenue side, obviously one of the biggest factors impacting our revenue is enrollment. So we look at, we have two companies that do projections for us. We use Plant Moran Cressa, and then we also use Stanford. And they look at, data within our area. They move the students up a grade. They take into account a number of factors and then issue estimates for us for the next several years. Both of them were very similar. I think one was 59, the other was a little higher. And then we also consider where our enrollment is, where we think it's going to be based on our incoming kindergarten class and where we're at now. And we'll continue to look at that as we move forward in the budget process. What do our projections look like? Is kindergarten coming in at where we think it will be? And we'll adjust it accordingly. So the foundation allowance, we did build in a pretty significant increase this year, $435 per pupil, and that is from the governor's budget that was presented February 9th. And she had actually one of the largest funding increases for education that we've seen in a long time. And so there's a lot that didn't get included within our budget, just not knowing where things, were going to be. As I mentioned, we still need the House and the Senate budgets, and then they need to work together to come to agreement. So categorical funding, she proposed 5 percentage points increase. So the funding would go from, 31% to 36%. We didn't think that, it might not go into effect. So we did the conservative approach, included a 1% increase. It's about $250,000 at-risk funding. There's a proposal to fund that at 100% for all districts. Currently, Farmington receives 1/3 of that allocation. Right now, we're not sure whether that'll happen, so we've built in a normal increase. Our PA-18 county special education millage, property taxes are going up, as well as our costs, and so we built in a 1% increase, just over $100,000. And we'll continue to collect the full indirect costs from the Nutrition Services Fund. That's about $146,000. Federal revenue, we've had lots of discussions about that. So those grants that we typically receive annually, Head Start, IDEA, Title I, II, and III, those are moving forward flat. And then we took into account the increase for the additional ESSER II funds as well as ESSER III funds that didn't make it into our current budget. And then we also wanted to reflect, well, what have we spent so far out of all of those dollars as of June 30th. So there's some adjustments for those dollars, really just to get our revenues and expenditures to a better spot so they're more accurate. So on the expenditure side, we have all of our contracts have 2 or 3 years. And so we know what those increases will be. So we've budgeted wages and benefits at the negotiated levels. There are additional retirements this year. And so typically we build in 10 retirements, and that's really the replacement savings. So we have a higher paid teacher leaving, and we're hiring at a lower rate for a newer teacher. So we've budgeted for savings for 20 teachers. The MIPSR's retirement rate was proposed to be flat, so no increase on the normal cost. The UAAL is proposed to go higher, I think, by 1.5 percentage points. However, that's the money that the state then gives us revenue for to pay for that additional cost. So fringe benefits, again, our self-funding plan is doing really well. We're on budget, and so we're proposing to keep those costs flat. And then our custodial costs, we did move to the hybrid model, which is a more expensive model. But again, we wanted to prioritize making sure our classrooms were clean and keeping all of our staff and students safe. We are going to continue with that transfer to our technology and other projects fund of $300,000, the transfer to the bus purchase maintenance fund of $600,000, and those are to fund future capital needs, both for technology, bus purchases, or future maintenance type needs. Utility costs, we're building in a 3% increase, and then fuel costs, as we all know, have risen significantly. So we're adding an additional $250 for that category. So on a high level, the forecast right now, and again, this is early on, as we know more information, we'll revise this and we'll bring the most accurate budget that we can at the time in June. So our revenues wind up at $152.8 million. Expenditures are at $154.5 million. So expenditures exceed revenue by $1.7 million at this point. So again, what are our unknowns? Again, House and Senate budgets still need to be released, so we don't have a feel for what they're looking at. When will the school aid budget be approved? Right now, we're hearing mid-June, maybe the end of June. That's obviously too late for us to take that into account if that's the case. Enrollment projections, as we move through the next few months, what do those look like? We're working on staffing right now. There may be some right sizing that goes along with that. And then again, the federal and state economies. There's a lot going on right now. Inflation is high, and so we need to make sure we're taking that into account. And I can answer any questions.
Nope. No questions? You must have done an excellent job. That was a lot of information, and it was very intuitive to the accountant in the room.
Yeah.
But I think it's very logical. It made sense. So thank you for that presentation. We also went through some of that at the Finance Committee meeting as well. So thank you for that presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Dr. Delgado.
And Mrs. Kaminsky has one more item.
Yeah, and you know what? I just realized, I don't think I have that.
The budget forecast, 22,
yeah,
23?
to pull up on screen.
That's okay. Is that this? What you're
Yes.
talking about?
So that it was, in the public packet. And again, it's using our first amended budget to start with, based on those parameters that I just talked about. We're putting that into, the budget for 22, 23. And then we're making some additional assumptions for the next 2 years. So fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25. Basically what we know right now, assuming we'll get a minimal increase, maybe $100 per pupil into the future. And so right now, we know we have work to be done. We don't want to continue to spend down our fund balance. At the end of that third year, we are still at an 11% fund balance. But again, we don't want to be in the spot where we're operating, in a deficit format. So we'll be working on, where we can implement savings as we move forward.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate that presentation.
Great, thank you.
All right, seeing no questions, we will move on to public comment. We are moving into public comment. I don't see any public comment cards, but I will wait 5 seconds in case someone's mustering up the courage. Seeing no public comment, we will now close the public comment period, and we will move on to action items. So we have two action items today. The first is on the custodial equipment purchase recommendation, and the second is on the nutrition services equipment purchase recommendations that we heard today. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Mr. Rich, thank you.
Thank you. Looking at the custodial equipment purchase recommendation that was presented in detail at the March 8th, 2022 regular meeting, I move that the Board of Education approve the custodial equipment purchase as outlined in the operations memorandum dated March 3rd, 2022, and the Nicholas Corporation quote number 87540.4 dated February 17, 2022 for the total cost of $99,504.23 to be funded from the Capital Projects Building and Site 2018 Fund.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Rich, supported by Mrs. Smith, to approve the custodial equipment purchase in the amount of $99,504.23 to be funded from the Capital Projects Building and Site 2018 Fund. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Smith, can we have a roll call, please?
Dr. Blau,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes?
Ms. Heinrich,
Yes.
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
I myself, yes, Ms. Weems.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That motion does indeed pass. We will now move on to the Nutritional Services Equipment Purchase Recommendation. Mrs. Heinrich.
These items were presented earlier in the discussion. I move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of kitchen cooking steamers as outlined in the Nutrition Services Memorandum dated March 11th, 2022, and the Stafford Smith Incorporated quote dated March 8th, 2022, for a total of $46,458 to be funded from the Nutrition Services Fund.
Support.
Motion made by Mrs. Heinrich, supported by Mrs. Smith, for the approval of the purchase of kitchen cooking steamers in the amount of $46,458. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Smith, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Ms. Heinrich,
Yes.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
I myself, yes. Dr. Blau,
Yes.
Ms. Weems.
I'm a yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes. And finally, Mrs. Heinrich.
I move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of convection ovens as outlined in the Nutrition Services Memorandum dated March 11th, 2022, and the Stafford Smith Incorporated quote dated March 15th, 2022, for a total of $32,760 to be funded from the Nutrition Services Fund.
Support.
Motion made by Mrs. Heinrich, supported by Mrs. Smith, for the approval of the purchase of convection ovens in the amount of $32,760. Seeing no discussion, Mrs. Smith?
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Heinrich,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes?
Dr. Blau.
Yes.
I myself, yes. Ms. Weems.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That motion passes as well. And now we will move to items from the treasurer. Mrs. Heinrich?
Yes, I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditures as outlined in the expenditure printout dated March 22nd, 2022 as follows. General Fund, $19,650,506. General Fund Athletics, $298,659. Capital Projects 2018 Bond Fund, $36,899. Capital Projects 2020 Bond Fund, $1,504,777. Nutrition Services Fund, $472,086. Benefit Stabilization Fund, $2,623,084, for a total of $24,586,011.
Support.
Motion made by Mrs. Heinrich and supported by Mrs. Smith to approve the expenditures as outlined on the expenditure printout. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you very much. We will now move to the consent agenda. Mr. Rich.
I move that the Board of Education approve the March 22nd, 2022 consent agenda as follows. A, approval of minutes, that's for the March 8th, 2022 regular meeting. B, Head Start Director's monthly report. And C, Oakland Schools Special Education Parent Advisory Committee appointee.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Rich, supported by Mrs. Smith for the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Very much. Thank you.
President Weems, if I may, thank you for the approval of the Oakland Schools Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. We did have the parent write a short synopsis of why she wanted to to be part of this. And so if I could ask Dr. McDougall maybe to come up as well, we can talk a little bit about this. But I'd like to just to read this from this parent who's going to serve on behalf of our district. She says, "My name is Jatara Wright, and I'm proud to call Farmington Hills, Michigan, my home. I am the mom of an awesome, differently abled daughter named Grace Thomas. I'm also the owner of Innovative Marketing Artistry and Digital Marketing Agency and Innovative Work Alternatives, a remote work career agency. To tell you a little bit about myself, I enjoy learning and researching projects and listening to music. I also enjoy spending time with my daughter, traveling and hanging out with my 2 Pomeranian pups. In addition, helping my daughter develop and excel despite how different she may be has been so rewarding for me. I aim to help her understand that really she's not different at all. She's just like many of us, human beings living life and enjoying the life of others. My goal is to use some of that experience and care while working with the educational team. I enjoy helping others, and I look forward to doing so while being a part of the organization." And I just wanted to share that because, you know, we select, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. McDougall, two representatives, parents in our district of students with special needs to represent Farmington Public Schools in Oakland County. And, you know, their commitment, it's completely voluntary, but it's so sincere and so thoughtful, and it comes from a place of love and a desire to give back. So I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit more about the Oakland Schools PAC.
You know what, the Oakland Schools PAC parents, what they do is they come together and they give parents information about what it means to have a student with a disability, what is available to them, and what options they have to help support them. One of the things we do, though, in our district, we have a Parent Connect meeting where we also provide information to our parents, and I will give you some more information about that at our next board briefs. But we work with the parents, the 2 parents that are in the district, to help support us and to give us ideas and information of what they think that the parents need. They go out, they survey parents, give us information back so that we can work as a team to make sure that we provide parents with the information they need to help best support their students. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right.
Mrs. Heinrich?
I just want to point out, because I had to ask a question, this is a parent, it's not a district employee, and it's strictly a volunteer.
Correct, it's strictly volunteer.
So,
Yeah.
yes, so just to highlight that fact that it is somebody that's giving their time above and beyond, and to recognize and
Absolutely.
give them credit for that and appreciation.
Okay. All right.
How is this information about this advisory committee made known to our community at large?
So basically, if you want to know about the Oakland County parent, there are advertisements that come out through the Oakland County Consortium. They send it to us, we put it on our website, or we send it out to our parents, per se. If there are meetings, though, the PAC parent meetings are basically for those PAC parents, not for outside parents. Only if they're doing a parent fair or resource fair are other parents invited. We also do that within our district as well.
And I just simply ask because my oldest son is on the spectrum, and I remember when we were coming through the ranks here, it was a challenge, to say the least, in finding services, getting support. At times it was nightmarish, and I'm just sitting here reflecting on how things have changed considerably for the better under new administration, new people in place. I cannot begin to tell you, as a parent who had no idea how to deal and how to navigate, just simply lifting this kind of information up for other parents to be able to connect with and find some light is incredibly, incredibly beneficial. So just wanted to thank you.
You know what, I would like to advise all parents who are in your position to don't feel like you're alone. Contact the special education department. We're there to help. We will give you information. We will tell you who to contact. We will make sure that you receive the resources that you need to help get you through. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we will move to reports from board representatives. Are there any reports, Mrs. Heinrich?
Yeah, I attended, along with Dr. Blau, the Oakland County School Board Association meeting on Wednesday, March 16th. Dr. Blau helped give a nice report on the IDEA funding and the work that our committee is doing in Washington. And so that was very well received, good information. There was a presentation by Scott Morrell on governance behaviors that impact student achievement. And we'll bring this information back to the board and share it when we have our board workshop. I mentioned to Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson that she had the presentation on the STEMI truck, and I had the opportunity to see it, and it was like her presentation was wow. The in-person was even more wow. And she said, isn't it great? Don't you think we need 2 of them in Oakland County? So, you know, I'm pretty impressed with the work they're doing, and the wheels are turning. So hopefully, you know, that resource will be duplicated and made more easily available. Anything else, Dr. Blau?
That covers it.
Yeah, and then something on the career program, also a presentation. I gave Mr. Walker a nice brochure on the career services that is available to our school district, all schools in Oakland County.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other reports from board representatives? Seeing none, we will move to recommendations for future agenda items. Yes.
Katie Rose is a high school student. She was actually here tonight with the group that presented, the Student Senate group. I met her at one of the Super Saturdays a couple weeks ago, and in our conversation, she mentioned that she recently returned from the Tourette's Youth. She's the only Tourette's Youth Ambassador in the state of Michigan, and she recently returned from the Youth Ambassador training in Washington, D.C. She suffers from Tourette syndrome and would love to have an opportunity to share with our board and our community what she learned and what we can do to help.
Thank you so much. In fact, I think you mentioned that to us before, and we've had that conversation. Dr. Delgado, I think, is already invited.
I believe Mrs. Stern has already scheduled her for April.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Perfect. Fantastic.
Thank you. Any other recommendations? Seeing none. Good and welfare. Mrs. Smith.
So, as Dr. Delgado stated, like I said earlier on, March is March Madness Month. I mean, it's mad. I have gone and attended several schools and read to elementary schools. I'm not as popular as Dr. Delgado is, but Dr.
I don't know about that. You dress up.
Well, yeah, I do wear the outfits, but he's still popular. So, Dr. Delgado, as well as myself and some of our other colleagues, have gone into schools and read to students. If you're a parent watching, if your kid said there was a lady that came in a nun outfit, that was me. I dress as characters from books. So I've gone as Dr. Seuss. I've gone as, who did I go as? The Puppy from the Paw book or show, Woody as Toy Story, and the Nun from Madeline.
I was going to say, I bet.
Yes, so I have dressed up, even Dr. Delgado saw the sister. I also have had the opportunity with several of our colleagues to go over to Warner to hear concerts this month. Tomorrow night is the concert, the choir concert. We've gone to the phenomenal talent show that started out with Dr. Goodrum at Visions, and what a great time. I think that I thought we were at a concert ourselves, Dr. Delgado and Ms. Fox and myself, got to see the plays, and I was able to have, you know, again, we do follow-ups. We had 2 young ladies that came to our last board meeting from North Farmington, and I was able to have lunch with them last Friday. They had some great conversation. There was some tears. There was some laughter. We got to have lunch on me, and I did some follow-up, and Dr. Delgado and many of the cabinet members, Dr. Goodrum, Dr. Coffin, and even our own board president, Ms. Weems, will be reaching back out to those ladies. I may not be able to beat Dr. Delgado out with lunch, but I did have the opportunity to sit down with Ms. Corbett and the rest of the students and hear some concerns. We do have some major concerns, and we do need to work on them. But that's because of working with our PTAs and our FAAPN group. Things will be taken care of in a good way. And we attended the PTA celebration last night. I can't wait to be back in person with those ladies. They are awesome. I am honored to have them be our people in charge or in power of our PTA. They go through just as much as we do. They just don't get a stipend. So I appreciate Jen Garland and Beth Hewlett and our PTA and our FAAPN. And again, we still go on Saturdays. And I want to thank Dr. Delgado, Dr. Coffin, and Dr. Goodrum for coming on Saturdays too. And my board members, my colleagues, thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly, I wanted to thank Dr. Delgado for delivering an excellent State of the City address. About a week and a half ago, I think it was the first one that was in person in a couple of years, and it was your first, and I thought it was just a great representation for Farmington Public Schools and a great update from both the cities of Farmington and Farmington Hills. And Mr. Rich and Mrs. Smith were also in attendance. I got a beautiful letter in the mail from a Mr. and Mrs. Gunlech. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Talking about the Farmington High School Symphony Orchestra featuring the Carnival of the Animals. And they were just raving about that program. And I thought that that was just so nice to hear, and how nice it was for them to just take the time to write a letter and express that. And I wanted to echo what they had to say about our music program, about our arts program in general. I'm very proud of the fact that that's something that we support and do well. I did also attend the Wizard of Oz play. Awesome. It was just great. It's been a long time since we've been able to do something like that. And the fact that they brought the middle schoolers in to be munchkins was super cute. Everything was great. The tech was great. The lighting was great. You know, it brings back a lot of memories. I was the president of the drama club in my yes.
Talent show.
I'm all about that, Dr. Brown. I'm all about that. But it was great. Also attended the jazz concert. Love that. I mentioned before that sometimes I feel like I should be paying for some of this stuff. I think it's just that good. Warner concert tomorrow, choir, and lots of other stuff coming up. So pay attention. There's lots of things to do in the neighborhood. So just take a look at your local Farmington Public Schools. There's lots of great opportunity. So with that, seeing no other good and welfare, I think we can stand adjourned.